Delegates, can I ask you to take your seats, please? If people could take their seats, I'd be really grateful. Thank you. Good morning, delegates. Can I call Congress to order? I hope you all had a good night last night, wherever you were. Thank you for those that came to the President's evening. And I'm sure there's some bleary eyes in the room this morning, but that's fine. OK, so the Standing Orders Committee will move SOC Report 2 this morning. Could Karen Dudley please come to the rostrum to move?
President Congress, Karen Dudley, Standing Orders Committee Chair, moving SOC Report number 2. Withdrawn motions. The SOC has been informed that the following motions have been withdrawn. From GMB Scotland, motion 241, discrimination of prostitution. Motion 243, reduce the financial wastage in our NHS. Motion 247, the urgent need for dentists to treat NHS patients. Motion 248, the impact of changes to GP practices on our emergency departments. Motion 294, stop the right-wing ideology. Motion 295, preventing the right-wing wave crossing the Atlantic. Motions 294 and 295 are the two motions that make up Composite Motion 15. And from Wales and South West Region, Motion 245, pharmacy stores closures. Motion 246, access to the NHS dentist within 1 hour via public transport. Motions 245 and 246 are the two motions that have made up Composite Motion 10. Emergency motions. The SOC has accepted 4 emergency motions as being in order for debate. They are Emergency Motion 1, urgent clarifications to protect trans women considering the Supreme Court narrow definition of a woman, from Wales and South West Region. Emergency Motion 2, defend the local government pension scheme, from North East Yorkshire and Humber Region. Emergency Motion 3, collapse of Thames Water, from London Region. Emergency Motion 4, stop changes to PIP, from London Region. The days and times when the emergency motions will be heard will be advised as soon as possible. Bucket collections. The SOC has agreed 2 requests for bucket collections as follows. By Southern Region, for the Macmillan Cancer Charity, the SOC recommends that this takes place at the close of the morning session today. And by London Region, for Cuba Viva Medical Aid Campaign, the SOC recommends that this takes place at the close of Wednesday morning session. We would ask those carrying out the collections to adopt an appropriate COVID-safe method in doing so. President, Congress, I formally move adoption of SOC report number 2.
Thank you, Karen. Does any delegate wish to speak in opposition to that report? No? In that case, can I put that to the vote? All those in favour of SOT report number 2, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Karen. Congress, you saw our members yesterday from Moorcroft Potteries. They were sitting up in the visitors gallery. Please welcome them to the stage this time to talk through their recent experience when 4 weeks ago Moorcroft went into administration and the wider issues around the pottery sector. Come, if you'd like to come up to the stage. And Sharon Yates, the branch secretary of Stoke Unity, will just give a few words.
Morning, everybody. I stand here again, 12 months later, and another 2 factories have closed down. First, Royal Stafford, and now Moorcroft. These girls here, the skill that they have is world class, and we can't afford to lose it. And it's just heartbreaking. The skills are dying constantly. We're being de-skilled all the time with the low pay wages, and we're not classed as a skilled worker anymore. We're just classed as production operatives, which is absolutely disgraceful. So what we need to do is the energy. The energy is absolutely appalling. It's killing our industry. The government have got to help us. They've got to help us, or else Stoke-on-Trent Potteries will go, and Stoke-on-Trent will die as well. We've only just, the other day, commemorated the centenary of city status. We'll lose that because Stoke-on-Trent's a small city made up of 6 towns. And once one of those factories close within that town, that city, the town and the city, the community dies. We've also got a problem with tariffs. We export, and our tariffs are more than what any other country's tariffs coming into our country. This China dumping these cheap imports, we need to smash the trash. You'll all open your cupboards and you'll see made in China. You've got to get rid of it. You've got to start buying British. You've got to start buying British ceramics again. The fake ware. You've got factories in Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent should be a hub. It should have a clause to say anybody who makes pottery in Stoke-on-Trent sells pottery from Stoke-on-Trent. Not ride on the name of the city of Stoke-on-Trent and the pottery industry and import it in to their factory shops and sell it in their shops made in China. It's absolutely disgraceful and disrespectful to the people of Stoke-on-Trent and the industry. We've got to rebuild the home market by getting rid of this cheap fake goods. And if we rebuild the home market, when we are struggling, we'll be able to sustain the buying in and able to produce again. The government, I've got to say this, I can't help it. Ed Miliband, net zero. He's ignorant, he's arrogant, and his stupid decision-makings is killing our industry. It's got to stop. It's impossible for the pottery industry to survive without the fossil fuel. Then we have the Prime Minister, a man who says the Labour Party is a party for the workers, is a party for the working class people. Let me tell you, a man with every opportunity who says his dad was a tool maker. Well, Keir Starmer, here's a message for you. My dad was a potter. I said, and his daughter what she's doing, she's standing here tall with her union. Come on. Standing tall with her union, fighting for the survival of the ceramic industry, fighting for the survival of the people of Stoke-on-Trent who could be waking up this morning and have no job to go to. Please support our campaign. Please help save our pottery industry. Thank you.
Yeah, great speech, Sharon. Well done. And as she said, British ceramics and smash the trash. We now move on to the local gift, which is London region. So you will see in the Congress guide that our local gift has been chosen by London region, and the recipient is Keach Hospice. Keach Hospice, based in Luton, cares and supports adults and children across Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire and Milton Keynes with life-limiting conditions. It is one of the few hospices in the country which offers specialists for both adults and children, and was chosen because it is free for people to use, unlike the NHS. It is not fully state-funded. Therefore, donations, like the ones we're going to be doing today, Congress, are vital to keep the service running and free for those who need it. So we'll now play a short video about Keach Hospice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm the corporate fundraiser here at Keach Hospice in Bedfordshire. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Congress for their local gift donation that we are receiving. I'd also like to wish GMB a successful Congress in Brighton. You'll now see a short film about all the great work that we do here at Keach Hospice.
Thank you, London Region, for making that your recipient. As I said earlier, unlike the NHS, hospices are not fully state-funded, so any donations will be welcome. Thank you. We now move on to employment policy, health and safety and environment. So could I have the movers of motion 93, 96, 97 and 98 down the front, please, and mover of 93 to the rostrum. Thank you.
President, Congress. Chris Marsh, Wales and South West Region. Move in motion 93. Colleagues, I stand here today to move this vital motion with a heavy heart and a crucial purpose. 4.5 years ago, our Wessex Water branch suffered an unthinkable tragedy, the loss of 4 dedicated workers in a devastating explosion at Avonmouth. Their names, Brian, Luke, Ray and Mike, are etched into our hearts, fathers, sons, brothers and friends. Men who went to work that day and never came home. From December 2020, the police took up the investigation, and throughout that harrowing process, they remained in contact, kept us informed, respected our role, and upheld the dignity of those we lost. But since July 24, when the Health and Safety Executive took over, our calls and letters have gone unanswered. The silence is deafening. The absence of communication is not only disheartening, it is disrespectful to the families, the colleagues and the union members left behind. We are not asking for miracles, we are asking for respect, recognition and representation. That when a workplace fatality occurs, the HSE does what the police did. Speak to the union, keep us informed, work with us. This motion calls for the GMB to meet with the HSE, not to demand, but to encourage a better way, a traditional way, a way rooted in the values of the GMB that was built upon unity, transparency and justice. I urge Congress to support this motion. Let us honour Brian, Luke, Ray and Mike, not only with our memories, but with our actions. Let no family ever again feel that they are waiting alone. So please support this motion on behalf of the families. I move.
Thank you, Chris. Seconder.
President, Congress, Mike Wilson, Wales and South West Region, second in motion 93. Colleagues, I am proud to second this deeply important motion. What happened at Avonmouth must never be forgotten, but remembrance alone is not enough. We must ensure that those who are tasked with protecting life in the workplace are held to the same standards as we expect of ourselves: openness, duty and honour. The Health and Safety Executive has a role of great responsibility, and we respect that, but when a GMB branch reaches out in the wake of a tragedy, there must be a human response, an acknowledgement, a conversation. We are not strangers to loss in this movement. We know that grief, when paired with silence, becomes heavier than it should ever have to be. This motion simply asks that the GMB appoint someone, a dedicated point of contact, to engage with HSE during such investigations, not to place blame, but to ensure that families and fellow workers are not left in the dark. This is not just a procedural motion, it is a moral one. It upholds the traditions of solidarity that define the GMB, and it speaks to who we are, a union that looks after its own. In honour of Brian, Luke, Ray and Mike, I second this motion. Let us walk forward with purpose, with clarity, and above all, together. Please support.
Thank you, Michael. Mover of motion 96, please.
President, Congress, Diane Timmins, London Region, moving motion 96, first time speaker. Congress, this motion calls for the Health and Safety Executive to investigate work-related suicides. As things stand, there is no requirement for the death by suicide to even be reported to the HSE, even if it takes place at work on an employer's premises, even where someone's work life is a factor in their suicide. This means the HSE doesn't even record a suicide as a death at work. This is unfair to those who die by suicide. Nor is there any requirement for employers to include any reference to suicide prevention or risk mitigation in company policies. This is failing workers. Having a suicide prevention policy doesn't just save lives. Through embedding a culture of suicide prevention, it will help to bring about improvements in mental well-being for all employees. Recent high-profile cases of work-related suicide remind us how pressing the need is. One was the tragic death in January 2023 of Ruth Perry, a primary school head teacher who took her own life following a downgraded Ofsted report from outstanding to inadequate, which led to calls in the British Medical Journal for all work-related suicides to be investigated by the HSE. This follows previous calls from the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulation 2013, RIDDOR, to be amended to make suicide reportable to HSE. RIDDOR only requires the death to be recorded to HSE where someone dies as a result of a work-related accident. The HSE has made it clear that suicides do not meet the reporting requirement under RIDDOR. In other countries such as France, suicide is considered a workplace risk, with employers required to prove to investigators that a suicide of one of their employees was not work-related. We need this in the UK, especially as there is a worsening rate of suicide in key sectors of the economy, notably construction. In 2013, there were 7,055 deaths registered in the UK where the cause was recorded as suicide. So, what are we asking for? Number one, organisations to promote suicide awareness and prevention. Number two, improving the evidence base around workplace suicide. Number three, changing legislation to require all businesses to have a focus and policy on suicide. And finally, calling on the HSE to record and investigate deaths by suicide on workplace premises. Congress, we ask that you please support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Seconder.
Good morning, everyone. President, Congress, Denisa Toma, London Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Seconding motion 96 on work-related suicide. Congress, in January 2023, we lost Ruth Perry, a respected head teacher who took her own life following a harsh and public Ofsted downgrade. Her death was not an isolated tragedy. It was a wake-up call. Behind the statistics are human stories, family broken, lives lost, and workplace that could and should have done more. Right now, a suicide that's happened on company time, on company property, or linked to overwhelming work stress isn't even recorded by HSE. That's unacceptable. We are asking for something simple, human, that suicide linked to work should be investigated, recorded, and prevented. Congress, I wish I didn't have to say this, but I've known people who've been pushed to the edge by their jobs. Good people, hardworking people. No one said, what role did the job play in this? It's easier to say it was personal. It's easier to look away. When the pressure builds, when the deadlines never stop, when the support isn't there, it chips away at people. And sometimes it's ending tragedy. Let's be clear. Right now, if someone died by suicide on work premises or because they couldn't take the pressure anymore, it isn't recorded by HSE. A human life doesn't lose its value because the cause was mental, not physical. We are asking for something vital, suicide to be recognized as a workplace risk. We want every employer to have a suicide prevention policy. Mental health is health, and silence is no longer acceptable. Congress, I ask you from the heart, support motion 96. Let's not wait for another Ruth Perry to act. Thank you, seconding motion 96.
Well done. Thank you. Mover of motion 97, please.
Andy Newman, Southern Region, moving motion 97. Congress, I'm going to talk about the sensitive issue of suicide contagion, where talking about suicide leads to other people thinking about suicide. And before I go on, if anybody is affected by any of the issues that we're talking about, please do take professional advice, either from the NHS emergency services, mental health services, or from Samaritans. So for a bit of context, I'm branch secretary of a big branch, 5,000 people, but it means I've got a lot of workplaces. And for my sins, I look after Amazon's big distribution centre, BS2 in Swindon. And I became aware that something was up there about 18 months ago. I was sitting in a disciplinary hearing, and the disciplinary was about why someone hadn't phoned in sick when they just hadn't turned up for work. And it became clear in the meeting that the reason he hadn't phoned in sick, he was in a 48-hour coma from having taken an overdose. And then in the meeting, he said, and I'm going to kill myself after this meeting. So it's a challenge. I've not come across that before. I said, well, we're going to stop the meeting now. I mean, God bless them. I mean, the managers at Amazon are not bad people. They tend to be nice young people that are working in a bad system. And, you know, I just took charge, took him out, made sure he spoke to Samaritans. But something's up. Every month, someone phones me up from that place and says they're thinking of killing themselves. The things I can't talk about too much of the specifics because it would be breaching the confidentiality. But I've had people self-harming on site. I've had people threatening not only self-harm, but also to harm other colleagues. People taking weapons in. Amazon's funny. They search you on the way out to make sure you haven't nicked anything, but they don't check that you're not bringing a machete in. I've had people phoning up and saying that, you know, terrible that they're thinking of not just suicide, but murder-suicide, where they're going to go in, you know, I've involved the police. I'm continually telling people to phone Samaritans. And it's wrong. Now, look, I'm not an expert on dealing with this stuff. It's really difficult. The managers there are not experts. They don't know how to deal with it. As I said, they're good people. But there's no system. There's no system for dealing with the fact that this is going on. There's a well-known, understood phenomenon amongst psychiatrists called the Werther effect. The people talk about suicide. They see other people talking about suicide. It normalizes it. There needs to be some professional intervention. But Amazon don't talk to GMB. I don't even though this is going on there, I'm not, and the managers, on each case, they're dealing with it on a professional way. I mean, they're not bad people. But I don't think they've even spotted the pattern. Yeah, because there's 4,000 people work there. You know, I don't see the same manager each time. But there needs to be, you know, I've got some ideas why I think it is, but I'm not a professional. You know, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to give you my half-baked ideas why I think it's going on, because I might be completely wrong. It might be counterproductive. But someone needs to step in. Someone needs help. But Amazon won't talk to GMB, so I don't even know if they know that there is a problem. I'm telling you there's a problem. The people there know there's a problem. But because Amazon won't talk to the union, there's no way we can have the conversation. And there's no mechanism for this being reported to the Health and Safety Executive. I mean, so what this motion is calling for is that there needs to be a mechanism that where a workplace has got a contagion of people talking about suicide and self-harm, that there's professional intervention from the state, from the health service, from psychiatric services, from whatever they need to help with that. And, you know, when people are talking about suicide, when they're mentioning suicide to occupational health in disciplinaries and grievances, then it's not just the, you know, the marvellous motion before me. It's not just when there is a suicide, it's when management are aware of the risk of a suicide, then, particularly if there's a cluster of it, then that should be reported and there should be a responsibility for the state, for the health services to step in and solve that problem. I can't do it. We need someone who actually knows what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Seconder.
Madam President, Congress, brothers and sisters, I'm Mike Woods, Southern Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Suicide ideation is not just an issue within Amazon. It's already an issue for our children and grandchildren on social media. After 14 years of underfunding from our previous government, mental health issues are affecting all areas of life. They've affected members in schools, the NHS, and in my area, local government. This creates the perfect breeding ground for things like suicide ideation to take root. Whilst we wait for our new government to make good their election promises, all I know is it's another work-related issue that we as reps face. All I know is that I only remember the cases I lose, not the ones I win. I don't want to lose this one. So, Congress, let's get ahead of the game. Give us one tool. One could be blunt, rusty tool, it doesn't matter. Just give us that one tool for our toolkit so that every officer, every convener, and every workplace organiser can do what we do best. Let's make work better. Support Motion 97. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mover of Motion 98, please.
Okay, good morning, President Congress. Liz Couston, Midlands Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Okay. Comrades, for decades, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 and the Safety Representatives and Safety Committees Regulations 1977 have been the bedrock of our fight for safer workplaces. These laws ensure that employers are held accountable for the health and safety of their employees and that workers have a voice through safety representatives and committees. However, these protections are not universal. Many workers, such as those on 0 hours and the gig economy, are excluded from these vital safeguards. Whilst the Health and Safety at Work Act places a duty on employers to ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health and safety of all employees, it does not extend these duties to workers without employee status. This gap leaves a significant portion of the workforce vulnerable to unsafe working conditions without the legal protections afforded to employees. The Safety Committee's Regulations 1977, which empowers trade unions to appoint safety representatives and establish safety committees, does not apply to workers who are not classified as employees. We, the GMB, have always stood for the rights of all workers, regardless of their employment status. It is time for our laws to reflect this commitment. We must demand that the protection of the Health and Safety at Work Act and the Safety Committee's regulations be extended to all workers. This means ensuring that every worker has the right to be represented by a safety representative, to participate in safety committees, and to challenge unsafe working conditions without fear of retaliation. Safety is not a privilege for a few, it is a right for all. Let us unite to ensure that every worker, regardless of their contract type, has the full protection of the law. Please help me and pass this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz. Seconder.
Morning, Congress, President. My name's Steve Shiner, private hire driver's representative, P42, and the great and growing Midlands branch. First-time delegate and first-time speaker. Thank you. This motion is about making sure everybody at work gets the protection of GMB trade union health and safety reps. It shouldn't matter whether your formal legal status is as an employee, a worker, or self-employed. Whether you work and under whatever status you work as, we all face hazards, we all face threats, and we all need to get organised around health and safety. Private hire drivers face the risk of assaults, robbery, and racist abuse on a regular basis. This should not be something that we accept as being part of the job. This should be something that we, as a union, can sit down with the company and develop a plan to stop this abuse. Wherever a company recognises a trade union, then our safety reps should have the same legal backing as they do where members are identified as employees. We want to see the safety representatives and safety committee regulations extended to cover union reps for workers and self-employed. We should all be provided with information about health and safety implications. We should all be consulted about changes to processes. We should all be consulted on the training people get. And we should all be consulted on who the company put forward as responsible managers in health and safety. Thank you, Congress. I'm second.
Well done, Stephen. Thank you. Does anybody want to speak in opposition? No. In that case, can I ask Gary Harris from the CC to give the CC's response, please?
President, Congress, Gary Harris responding on motions 93, 96, 97 and 98 with the CEC positions. On motion 93, whilst the CEC has every sympathy with the branch and all those branches whose members have been killed at work, GMB cannot intervene in a formal fatal accident investigation, whether it is conducted by the police, HSC, local authority or ORR, or any other regulator, for fear of prejudicing the investigation. The CEC recognises the frustration with the long delays in investigating the incidents at Avonmouth and the lack of communication from the Health and Safety Executive on developments. The CEC supports the intention of the motion, but with two important qualifications. One, that rather than each GMB region, nation, having a nominated person to liaise with regulators after fatal incidents, all GMB organisers should receive training on how to respond to fatal incident investigations. This training will be developed by the National Health and Safety Department based on a pilot course delivered to Midlands region in March 2024. Two, that the root cause of HSE's delays is inadequate funding, and that further campaigning, as outlined in the CEC special report on 50 years of the Health and Safety at Work Act, is required to greatly increase the number of operational HSE inspectors available to investigate such incidences. On motion 96, this motion usefully builds on the recommendations made in the 2024 CEC Health and Safety Special Report. The qualification is that the scope of reporting of work-related suicides must include every instance where work may have been a contributing factor, not just those deaths which have occurred at the workplace. On motion 97, the CEC is strongly supportive of this motion in principle. However, GMB need to take expert advice on some elements of the motion to determine whether the motion can be enacted in practice. These are whether or not it will create a hazard to workers for employers to record and report on suicide ideation. Legally, how ideation could be incorporated into RIDOR regulations, given that ideation is not in itself a discredit actual event. For these reasons, the CEC is asking that motion 97 be referred to fully consider all positions and the practicalities of this motion. Finally, on motion 98, GMB long campaigned for an end to bogus self-employment, and the CEC fully supports the intention of this motion. The qualifications are that 1. Section 3 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, in theory, provides protections to all workers regardless of employment status. As this is the outcome of another employer's work activity, the issue is enforcing this. A new Act of Parliament will not be sanctioned by any government as the issue is effectively covered. 2. The proposal for single worker status in the Employment Rights Bill may alleviate this issue to a degree if enacted in 1926. 3. The existing consultation regulations are not sufficient for gig economy, and the GMB should therefore demand new regulations to ensure equitable coverage for all workers. Therefore, Congress, we are asking that you support motions 93, 96 and 98 with qualifications, and for Southern Region to accept reference back on motion 97. Thank you.
Cheers, Gary. Thank you. Does Wales and South West accept the qualification on motion 93? Thank you. Does London Region accept the qualification on motion 96? Thank you. Does Southern Region agree to refer? Thank you. And does Midlands agree the qualification on 98? Thank you very much. I don't need to take a vote on motion 97, so all those in favour of motion 93, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. All those in favour of motion 96, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's also carried. And then all those in favour of motion 98, please show. Thank you. That's carried as well. We now move on to debating the CEC statement on our National Health Service. Mo Akbar and Linda Carr-Pollock of the CEC will be moving and seconding the statement. I will then invite regions to speak on the report in order, starting with London Region. So if the speakers on that report would like to come down to the front as well, I'll be taking London, Midlands, North East Yorkshire and Humber, North West and Irish, Scotland, Southern and Wales and South West in that order.
President, Congress, comrade and friends. Mo Akbar, moving CEC report, C statement on our NHS. Congress, the title of the CEC statement is particularly apt as the NHS is our own. The title is, the product of the care, dedication, belief and share, hard work, hundreds of thousands of workers who are there for us in the hours of greatest need. You will be familiar with the heart-reading images of the stories of the ambulance going outside the hospitals, or outside emergency departments, unable to bring patients into hospital due to bed shortages. You will all know the minutes of the last before the treatment on make a lot of difference between the life and death of between full and only part recoveries. So my work in the ambulance service really is a matter of life and death. The work is so vocation, it should be placed above profit, spin, and cost-cutting exercise. The market, whether internal through creeping privatization via the outsource of the contracts, has absolutely no place here. Some things are more important than money, and this was never truer than the case of our NHS. The statement before you is based upon Imperial's research and the lived experience of our members of the front line of the NHS, not at least in the ambulance service. We know what has to be done. We know that our NHS will not restore until they're properly funded from the public purse, through the progress, taxation, calling time on a profit motives. This means the return of the contract, including for the patient transfer services. In-house, the proper funding of the social care and an end to bed blocking in our hospitals. This means proper pay and decent conditions for our members throughout the NHS services and wider care sector that recognize their professionalism, ability, and commitment. This means a return to the funded principles, the beliefs, dignity, and a healthy life of runs from cradle to grave. That does not depend upon the ability to pay. We can do this. We know that it can be done. Our NHS, built brick by brick, from out of our ruins and of the blitz to the envy of the world. It was built upon the skill and commitment of the workers down from every corner of the globe, who, far from being strangers to our shores, became an integral part of our society, and without whom our NHS could never have hoped to be functioned. Without, let alone thrived, deserved, dynamic and driven to serve and to care, the NHS defines us all, knits together the fabric of our civil society, and exits at the surest pillar of the Commonwealth and as a treasury for all. Our NHS can be rebuilt right here, right now, but only through the labour, expertise, and the vision of our members, who are already and able to secure a better, healthier, and brighter future for us all. Congress, I urge you to adopt this CEC statement.
Thank you very much. Linda? Linda to second. Linda Carr-Pollock, are you in the hall? Thank you, Linda.
President Congress, Linda Carr-Pollock, seconding the CEC statement on our National Health Service. Colleagues, this statement, guided by your motions and the experiences of our members, clearly calls for reforms to our essential services. GPs, dentists and pharmacies. These services should keep us healthy and catch issues before they become serious, without any expense at the point of use or long waits for appointments. We know that people are deterred from seeing their GP due to waiting times, the rush for appointments in the morning, or the high cost of seeing a dentist if you can find one. The lack of integration with the wider NHS means our hospitals, ambulance services and pharmacies are bearing the strain and are at breaking point. Having worked in the dentistry service, I understand the importance of good oral health and its link to preventing other health conditions. Regular checkups can support the prevention of serious illnesses and spot early signs or indicators of them. This is why this statement needs to become our union's policy. It recognises the magnificent work of our NHS workers and outlines practical remedies to restore the NHS's lustre. It aims to provide a healthier future for people from cradle to grave, make clear that our NHS is not for sale, and that private medicine and profit motives have no place in the matters of life and death. It also institutes a system of preventative medicine that will cut costs by preventing or eliminating illness at the first signs. Congress, the NHS is our chief jewel, the organisation and the people who save lives, make lives better, and dignify our nation daily. This is a source of pride, hope, and the lasting testimony of the 1945 government. Our members gathered here today, ambulance workers, technicians, porters, dental professionals, nurses, pharmacists, health improvement practitioners and all healthcare staff do magnificent work and know precisely what needs to be done. Therefore, let us trust those who do the work, save lives and truly care about the health, happiness and future of all of our people. The NHS is ours, it's union built and it's the envy of the world. This CEC statement reflects this knowledge and workers' priorities. I recommend acceptance in the sure and certain knowledge that this will be the first step in GMB's campaign to not only save but enhance the NHS. Please support this statement.
Thank you, Linda. Could London Region come to the rostrum? Just before you take the... Come up, but just before you speak, could I just ask that the delegate from North East Yorkshire and Humber does not want to be filmed or be put on social media, so can you respect the wish of that delegate, please?
Morning, President, comrades. My name's Simon Rush, London Region, and I support this NHS statement. But it doesn't show how much has changed or happened in the NHS since the 2017 CEC statement was carried by Congress. COVID happened. The Tories locked down the UK to save lives, but were given stats of people dying daily, and we sat petrified watching as the numbers rose. We can't forget the harrowing pictures of those heroic staff and the devastation of NHS staff who contracted the virus and lost their lives in the line of duty. But as a nation, we felt safe because they were there every hour of every day, caring for our every need. Many staff who survived are now left with the physical impairments and that have changed their lives. But how quickly the Tory government forgot those, as well as those who have been left with mental and emotional effects of surviving and working with the pandemic. We clapped, the Tory government praised the levels of care, but they soon turned their backs and the privatisation of the NHS carried on slyly undercover. More money than ever is given to private companies who pay the least they can get away with, terms and conditions, and the privatisation of the NHS carried out slowly, and as I've already said, undercover. We clapped. The Tory government praised the level of care, but they soon turned their backs, and the privatisation of the NHS. More money than ever is given to private companies who pay the least they can get, but they soon turned their backs on us, and the privatisation carried on. More money, I'm repeating myself here, I don't know what's going on. More money than ever is given to private companies who pay the least to get away with in terms and conditions are not in line with the agenda for change. More and more NHS trusts have created directors with high salaries, but on the patient front, equipment, conditions and staffing numbers have declined. One of the biggest scandals contained, if we all recall, is PPE. NHS frontline staff worked without enough PPE, dispute the Tories spending £8.4 billion on PPE contracts. Just imagine where that money could have gone. PPE never ordered, or if it did appear, wasn't fit for purpose, and still companies were paid. The new Labour government has told all NHS trusts to cut spending. GMB London region is witnessing frontline NHS staff either be made redundant or being tupied over to private sectors. We cannot stand by idly and allow this to happen. Ambulances are unable to unload at A&Es because of the shortage of beds. People are unable to get a GP appointment. There are reports of people extracting their own teeth due to lack of dental appointments. Just imagine for a minute pulling your own teeth or doing a filling, which you can actually order online. Community and social care has seen the biggest decline with closures and redundancies, and with stress on mental health services. Sadly, suicides, as we've already seen today, have risen in the UK year on year.
Simon, can you
Thank
wind
you.
up, please?
I'll speed up. GMB is listening to our members every day, hearing their upset and frustrations, and the current Labour government need to listen as well. Last bit, the NHS need more funding, and the profit-making companies who are concerned about their bottom lines and not staff morale or patient care need to be removed, and all services brought back in-house to the NHS. Thank you, Congress.
Well done. Thank you. Midlands.
In support of the CEC Special Report, Paul Pickrell, Midlands Region. President, Congress. Today, I want to talk about something that touches each and every one of us, the National Health Service. The NHS was and is socialism, and its architect, Nye Bevan, once said, the NHS service will survive as long as there are people willing to fight for it. Well, we now have the capitalist vultures circling, desperate to privatise our precious NHS. We now have the right-wing caucus backed by hedge fund billionaires and fronted by Nigel Farage, desperate to sell it off. Now is the time for working people, trade unions, all those that depend on the NHS, all those that know what alternatives are, to stand up and be counted. And I believe that the GMB should be at the forefront of that call. So, brothers, sisters, comrades and friends, let's work together to ensure the NHS remains a beacon of hope and healing for all. Please support Solidarity.
Thank you, Paul. Delegate from North East Yorkshire and Humber, please.
President, Congress, Melanie Gale, GMB Scotland, the Brave. Sorry. Speaking in support of the CEC statement. Congress, the title of the report says it all, our National Health Service, and yes, it's ours. There will not be one single person in this hall today that has not relied on it in some way or form, or even maybe in the future. It has become our cornerstone of our society and communities. We must protect it with everything that we've got. We need change to do this. The increase in the NHS wastage of both stores and drugs through mismanagement is allowing money to trickle out the door with items out of date or even unused. This could be costing our NHS up to £100,000 every single day. Now, what could that pay for and what can that put in place? This money could fund more staff to ease the already understaffed and underworked NHS. And believe you me, we are understaffed and overworked. As a result, staff are unable to order everyday items or equipment or even vital uniforms. We can't even order a pen. And also trying to get an NHS dental appointment. This is often an overlooked vital area of healthcare. Evidence confirms that poor oral health is a high risk factor to other serious health conditions. Therefore, we need an NHS dentistry service that is fit for purpose, where everybody can attend without having to pay for private. Our emergency departments are bursting points. Waiting times are at an all-time high. People can't get a waiting time to be seen by a consultant for a hip replacement or a knee replacement. Some people need to wait 2 years for this. And GPs are no longer assessing patients as they previously were. Can any of you in this room today tell me if you've been able to manage to get a GP appointment? How long do you wait for? It's at all-time high. This is unacceptable. And that GPs are no longer assessing our patients, which means now patients are now going to our emergency departments. Is this viable? No, because our emergency service is there for emergencies only. We can no longer sustain this. We need action now to ensure the protection and survival of our NHS. Please support this CEC support. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Southern. And while that Southern's coming up to the rostrum, could the movers and seconders of motion 185, 192, 194 and 195 come to the front, please?
President, Congress. Julie Hart from Southern Region. First-time delegate, first-time speaker. Congress, I rise today as a voice for every NHS worker who has held this service together through crisis after crisis. Our NHS is not just a health service, it is the beating heart of our society, built on the principles of care and equality, and has served us for 77 years. But today, it stands battered, not by time, but by political choices. Since 2010, we've seen a deliberate dismantling of our NHS. Privatisation has crept in, services have been cut, and our members, our frontline heroes, have been pushed to breaking point. Public satisfaction has plummeted to just 21%. That's not a statistic, it is a warning. Our members are exhausted. 60% say they wouldn't choose to work in the NHS again. They face low pay, burnout and impossible workloads. Yet they stay. They stay because they believe in the NHS, because they make the NHS. We demand more than applause, we demand action. Fair pay for all the NHS workers. No more cuts. Insourcing of services. No more privatisation in disguise. And a fully public, fully funded NHS, free at the point of use. We must also fix the first line of defence. GPs, dentists, pharmacists. These are not luxuries, they are lifelines. Congress, the NHS was born from a vision of a better world after war. Let us now rise with that same vision. Let us rebuild our NHS, not just for ourselves, but for every generation to come. Thank you.
Well done, Julie. Thank you. And Wales and South West, please.
President, Congress, Rebecca Jones-Westcott from the amazing Wales and South West region. Hooray! Speaking in support of the CEC Special Report. Congress, let's be clear. The NHS is not just a service, it's the living, breathing heart of our communities in Tredegar, in Exeter, across our valleys, in the coastal towns, and in every corner of these isles. For 77 years, the NHS has stood as a promise that no matter who you are or where you come from, you will be cared for when you need it most. That promise was forged by trade unions like us, like Nye Bevan, by working people like us, and it has been kept alive by our members' dedication and sacrifice. But today, that promise is under threat, like never before. The CEC report lays out the hard truth. Years of deliberate underfunding, privatisation and austerity have pushed our NHS to the brink. In Wales, we face the added challenge of trying to deliver universal care for an ageing population, with budgets that simply do not keep pace with need. Our members are worried, and rightly so, that cuts will force care boards to turn to artificial intelligence and automation, putting both jobs and patient lives at risk. Let's be honest, the NHS is not just on its knees, as the report says, it's on its face. Waiting times are up, staff morale is down, and public satisfaction is at an all-time low. But let's also be clear, it is the commitment of NHS workers, cleaners, porters, paramedics, nurses and support staff that is holding that system together. As GMB members say, we make the NHS. I want to pay tribute to my colleagues across Wales and the South West who turn up day after day under impossible pressures. They do it because they believe in the founding values of the NHS. But belief alone cannot pay the bills or fill the rota. Our members are exhausted. They are working short-staffed, facing unmanageable workloads and struggling with poor pay and morale. In a recent survey, 60% say they wouldn't join the NHS again if they had the choice. That should be a wake-up call for every politician in this country. The CEC report is right. We need urgent action. We need decent, dignified pay rises for all NHS workers. We need to insource services, invest in community and elderly care, and overhaul the broken system of training and career progression. We must defend the NHS from being carved up in the trade deals or handed over to private profit, and we must demand that the new Labour government in Westminster and the Welsh government in Cardiff Bay work together to rebuild the workforce and put patients before profit. In Wales, we know what's possible when unions organise a fight. We will not accept cuts by staff or decision made without the consent of the workforce. We will negotiate, we will campaign, and we will hold every government to account. I support.
Well done. Thank you. OK, so I can put that to the vote. All those in favour of the CEC statement, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's unanimously carried. Thank you. We now move on to industrial and economic policy, public section. Could I ask the mover of 185 to come to the rostrum, please?
Here we go again. It has to go down for me. President, Congress, Cathy Holland, London Region, moving motion 185. Thank you ever so much for yesterday and getting this through. I do appreciate it. Congress, thank you for allowing me to speak on this motion. While I believe the CE statement on the NHS, as we all know, it needs protecting for the future. We also must do all we can to protect staff that work in the valuable service. Our NHS is at present not going far enough to protect staff from the possibility of allegations and violence. A couple of weeks ago, my daughter, who is a community nurse, was phoned by a colleague who was anxious about going into a patient's home, as he is known to make allegations against staff. Had the nurse been wearing a camera, this would not have been necessity to divert staff from other work. Of course, it can go both ways, protecting patients from abuse as well. And if it could contain alarm, so much the better. I move.
Thank you, Cathy. Seconder.
President in Congress, Anne Weeks, London Region, seconding motion 185. The argument for body-worn cameras or body cams is often broached from the sole reactive need to find a fix to the increasing and ongoing threats associated with lone working. However, addressing the need through a kaleidoscopic lens means we see the use of body cam as a part of a positive, proactive triple package of employee, employer and patient care. In 2021, body-worn cameras were rolled out in all ambulance trusts across the UK. 4 years on, there is enough successful evidence to extend the rollout to NHS lone workers, including waking night staff, social workers and community-based nurses and health professionals. Cameras should not be a replacement for employers' legal and ethical duty to assess specific risks associated with lone working. However, evidence from ambulance workers' trials show that paramedics feel safer with cameras. So let's look at some of the immediate benefits instead of disadvantages. Cameras are accurate, reliable evidence as eyewitness recall can prove inaccurate. Footage from cameras can be invaluable as a training, continuous professional development or lessons learned resource based on real scenarios and supporting best practice. Footage can be a support for safeguarding concerns for vulnerable patients. Cameras can be a deterrent, and also they can be a support for assessing police footage. So please, Congress, keep the door open to this discussion. Please support this motion.
Thank you, Anne. Well done. Could I have the mover of motion 192, please?
President, Congress, Ian Minards, Wales and South West Region, moving motion 192, a national policy on virtual wards, accountability and safeguarding workforce and patient care. First time delegate, first time speaker. Colleagues, I'm here today to talk about the future of our NHS, about how care is delivered, how our members work, and how we protect both patients and staff in a changing healthcare landscape. At the heart of this motion is a simple but powerful truth. Innovation must never come at the expense of safety, and right now, the growing adoption of virtual wards is running ahead of the governance, staffing, and safeguards needed to make it work properly. Congress, we are not against innovation. Done right, virtual wards can bring real benefits. Patients recovering in the comfort of their own homes. We free up hospital beds for those in acute need. We are reduced pressures on overcrowded wards and overstretched services. But let's be clear, our members are being redeployed from face-to-face care to monitor patients remotely without any additional staff to support this shift. They're now expected to use their personal vehicles to visit homes, often without proper insurance, putting them at legal risk. The current mileage rate of 45p doesn't cover fuel wear and tear anymore. Staff are effectively subsidising the system out of their own pockets. Add to this the challenges of lone working, poor mobile coverage and insufficient training. It's crystal clear we're putting people in unsafe situations. This isn't just about healthcare delivery, it's about terms and conditions, legal protections, safety and respect. The worst aspects of virtual wards are already visible. families forced to provide care they're not trained for, patients left in unsuitable homes without access to the technology needed, clinical assessments missed, emergencies poorly managed, inadequate staffing, systems that crash, all contributing to a postcode lottery of care where your health outcome depends on where you live. Congress, this is not good enough. That's why we're calling on the GMB to adopt a clear national policy to take the lead and set the standard on how virtual wards are introduced. A policy that says no more ruling out virtual wards without proper consultation, no more staff being asked to do more with less, and no more silence from employers when things go wrong. We demand staffing levels must exceed demand, not just meet it, because patient care is not a number on a spreadsheet, it's about human lives and the people who protect them. We call for regular reporting, independent reviews, and honest evaluation so we learn from mistakes and improve. We call for equity and access so patients in poor housing or rural communities aren't left behind. Most of all, we call for GMB members to be at the heart of every conversation about virtual wards, because without that voice, without the voice of the workforce, these programs are built on sand. Congress, virtual wards could represent a new frontier in healthcare, but without strong union oversight, they risk becoming just another cost-cutting measure, one that exploits workers and shortchanges patients. So today, I ask for the support of this motion, support our members, support safe staffing, support innovation. I move.
Well done, Ian. Thank you. Seconder.
President Congress, Yvonne Healy, Wales and South West Region, seconding motion 192. Colleagues, virtual wards are being hailed as the future of healthcare, offering patients the comfort of home and freeing up precious beds. But let's be clear, innovation without accountability, without the right resources and without the right voice of the workforce is not progress, it's a risk. We all know the pressure of our NHS faces. We welcome new ideas, but not at the expense of patient safety or the mental health of our already overstretched staff. Right now, virtual wards are a postcode lottery. Some trusts are getting it right, others are cutting corners, leaving staff unsupported and patients vulnerable. That's not good enough. The motion calls for the national GMB policy, a gold standard for virtual wards. We demand minimum staffing levels to go beyond the bare minimum. We demand proper training, robust technology and regular transparent reporting. We demand that the NHS employees are held to account, so no one is left to cope alone, be the patient, carer or staff. We must not allow the virtual wards to become a backdoor for cost-cutting or a way to push more onto families and unpaid carers. We must not accept a system where your postcode or your Wi-Fi connection determines quality of your care. We must fight for equity, for safety and for the dignity for every patient and every worker. Let's be the union that stands up and says, yes, we want innovation, but we want it done right. We want it done fairly, and we want it done together. Congress, I urge to support this motion. Let's see the standards. Let's protect our patients, our colleagues, and our NHS.
Well done, Yvonne. Thank you. Can I have the mover of motion 194, please?
President Congress, Les Martin, GMB Scotland, moving motion time to bargain for better. Social care. 5 years on from COVID, and the horrors experienced by social care staff, nothing has changed. We were promised change, and foolishly we thought change would come, but promises are easily made and quickly forgotten. The Feely Review was commissioned by the Scottish Government with a remit to recommend improvements to adult social care in Scotland. This report, completed in 2021, made several recommendations which, if appeared, have taken on board would improve pay and terms and conditions for social care staff and move towards improvements in social care, with the recommendations going towards setting up National Care Service. Many of the recommendations in this report were not included in the National Care Service Bill. The bill was based on co-design model, but after years of contributions to the bill, no change for staff. Many of the stakeholders withdrew from the bill, including GMB Scotland, as it was not fit for purpose. That version of the bill, which has been scrapped, cost the failed bill £28.7 million. Fair Work and Social Care, another Scottish Government initiative, main areas being pay, sectoral bargaining, effective voice and terms and conditions, all going nowhere fast despite years of meetings. Terms and conditions. Scottish Government funding was made available. This work stream had 3 years of meetings, with decision made to prioritise sick pay, maternity pay and paternity pay. After going back and forth, it was finally in place how this would be implemented. Final hurdle, and informed the funding was no longer available. 38 million earmarked to improve terms and conditions for social care, no longer available. Gone. It's been asked on numerous occasions where the missing millions have gone, only to be told no longer available. Sectorial bargaining, again, years of meetings, still no agreement from the Scottish Government. Scottish Government continued to agree on carers' minimum pay without any meaningful consultation with trade unions. Effective voice for social care staff. To have effective voice, unions should be able to visit all care homes and give these members a voice. The roles and responsibilities of social care workers continues to grow with an ageing population with complex medical needs, as shown in win after win in council job evaluations. An example being South Lanarkshire Council, home care wage £18 an hour. That's £5.40 more than the Scottish Government minimum wage for carers. Staffing crisis. We're on the verge of losing many overseas workers and care worker visa. When these overseas workers are gone from social care, many care homes will close due to lack of staff. Homes that remain open, existing staff will be plunged into intolerable, unworkable situation, and the vulnerable elderly in our society who require care will suffer. The recruitment and retention crisis will continue until Scottish Government and Council step up and deliver and pay in terms and conditions. £28.7 million wasted in a National Care Service bill that wasn't fit for purpose. £38 million snatched away from improving terms and conditions. Social care workers deserve better than false promises and funding being snatched away. We'll not rely on promises anymore. We want firm commitment and improvement in the social care workforce. We're good enough during COVID to put lives at risk, but not good enough now for decent pay or terms and conditions.
Elizabeth,
we want change now.
Can you wind up, please?
1 year, 2 year or 5 year now. We ask GMB to apply pressure on government to get round the table and start talking. Please support.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Seconder for motion 194, please.
Morning, Congress. President Congress, Margaret Boyd, GMB, the mighty Scottish region. Obviously sleeping. Congress, social care is in crisis. Staff are overworked and underpaid, whilst private sector employers send millions of profits to tax havens. We would not tolerate this in our NHS, so why tolerate it in social care? In Scotland, the social care workforce have been made promise after promise. The Scottish Government's National Care Service Bill was government by press release. Grand claims with no plans. Workers were marched up the hill with months of talks, only to be let down. There can be no recovery in our NHS without first improving social care. That is just how vital care workers are. And that has been reflected in equal pay campaigns across the country where care workers are fighting and winning. South Lanarkshire carers remain one of the highest paid in the UK thanks to the support of the local rep of South Lanarkshire Council. But elsewhere, carers haven't been able to bargain. Scotland was ahead of the rest of the UK after an historical agreement between ministers, trade unions and employers to negotiate the pay, terms and conditions across private care. But we now risk falling behind as the Scottish Government refuses to convene the bargaining table. It remains the only major publicly funded service in Scotland without some form of bargaining structure. The social care workforce cannot afford to go backward when they are ready to move forward. It's time to bargain for better. Thank you, Congress. Please support.
Well done, Margaret. Thank you. Mover of motion 195, please.
Good morning, Congress. My name's Karima Kelly. I'm calling from the X17 Southern Region. Forgive me, I'm dyslexic and I'm incredibly nervous. Ooh. Thank you. I rise today to not just move this motion, but to demand justice. Justice for carers and support workers who provide essential services for the most vulnerable members of our community. The elderly, the disabled, and those living with chronic illnesses, and for those who have mental health complexities. These individuals are our unsung heroes, and I would like to take the time to personally acknowledge each and every one of them for their incredible work that they do. Let us be clear, underpaying these workers is not just a financial issue, but also it is our moral failure. It is an insult to those who dedicate their lives to care for the well-being of others. And yet, strangely, their pay remains so low, forcing many to struggle financially, despite the selfless devotion that they offer others. This motion doesn't ask for luxury, it just asks for fairness. So what is an extra £4 to help them maintain the care that they so desperately need? This frustrates me greatly, as I know this is not just a demanding job, physically and emotionally. On many occasions, it's challenging, as well as heartbreaking. I know that this type of work is more than a job. It's a vocation. So double pays in the weekends and bank holidays is clearly not a charity. It is an investment into a stronger healthcare and support system. This is about respecting and valuing the sacrifices that they make. And I can safely say, if my mother was anything to go by, personally, I would treble the rate of pay to ensure her safety and well-being, or should I say, the safety and well-being of the carer. So, Congress, can I ask you, what are you willing to pay for someone to leave their families to come and look after yours? So can I urge you to stand up for those today who stand up for us all year round? And let us be clear, their work matters, their time matters. It's time to reward them accordingly. Congress, I move. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Your nerves didn't show at all. Well done. Seconder, please.
Hi, hello. I'm Stacey Blair. I'm Southern Region and also from the National Care Committee. Hey! I'm proud to speak in support of motion 195. Care and support workers are the foundation of our social care system. When social care functions work well, we see measurable improvements. Fewer hospital admissions, smoother discharges, less strain on all the emergency services. We provide essential complex care to vulnerable individuals, not just during convenient work hours. We work weekends, bank holidays, Christmas Day. Whilst others take a rest, we turn up because care isn't 9 to 5. You don't just pencil in your dementia for when it suits me. I'm there working, sacrificing my time with my family in order to make sure that you're medicated, clean, fed, and advocated for. We do this because we care, but because we care, we're often exploited. So it's key to point out that absolutely everyone in this room, everyone is likely to need social care at some point. So should it take a personal experience for you to really, truly understand what it is that we do and the importance of what we do? We are not fairly recognised for our commitment, and there's this long-standing imbalance in how care work is valued. We speak about dignity in care, but how can you speak of dignity when you don't show it to the very people that provide that service? This motion isn't about comparison or competition, it's about fairness, about raising the standard across the board and creating proper parity between professionals in social care as well as healthcare. Double pay for weekends and bank holidays it's not a luxury, it's just a fair start. It's a baseline gesture of respect for unsociable hours, for personal sacrifice, and for the skilled, emotionally demanding work that care and support workers carry out to fix every day. We want a strong, stable care sector, not just fit for now, but fit for our future. And we're only going to do that if we're willing to invest in the people that turn up every day and hold it up. Please support this motion.
Thank you, Stacey. Well done. Any speakers in opposition? No. Can I ask Simon Day from the CEC to respond? And can I have movers and seconders of 244, 249, 250, 257 to come to the front as well, please?
Good morning, President. Good morning, Congress. Simon Day, speaking on behalf of the CEC, responding to motions 185, 194 and 195. Turning first to motion 185, NHS lone working staff from London region. The use of body-worn cameras has been an issue of personal choice for ambulance service workers, not all of whom want to wear them. GMB has not consulted with its wider NHS and community healthcare membership on the use of body-worn cameras and should incorporate this into any campaigning. We wish to refer this motion in order to carry out this consultation with our membership. We note as well that there may be views from patients on this matter, although we would not canvass those, and they might be used in any negotiations with employers. On motion 194, social care, time to bargain for better, from GMB Scotland, the CEC supports the work of the care sector representatives in Scotland for highlighting the issue of the missing millions and encourages the organising efforts behind this campaign. The other asks of this motion are already established GMB policy, and with the change of government, the national voice of care sector workers is being heard in Westminster, where devolved nations are being consulted on the outcome of fair pay agreement in adult social care, and GMB is making a strong case for sectoral collective bargaining for the sector's workforce. The qualification is that the region will be able to make further representation for itself in the autumn, when public consultation opens on the design of the fair pay agreement and sectoral collective bargaining. Finally, on motion 195, double pay rate for care and support workers on weekends and bank holidays. Workers in the care sector work 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. The industry is poorly paid, but in many instances, enhancements are paid during Christmas periods and other bank holidays. However, weekend working is in almost all instances not paid an enhanced rate. CEC's qualification is this, that we build a workplace-by-workplace campaign within the care sector and care sector employers, rather than all sectors. Congress, to recap, the CEC is asking that motion 185 be referred, motions 194 and 195 be supported with the qualifications I have outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Does London Region agree to refer motion 185? No. Sorry, can I just have that confirmed? You accept the refer? Thank you. Does Scotland, GMB Scotland, accept the qualification on motion 194? Thank you. And does Southern accept the qualification on motion 195? Thank you. Okay, I don't have to put motion 185 to the vote, thankfully. Does all those in favour of motion 192, which the CEC are supporting, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. All those in favour of motion 194, please show. Thank you. That's carried. And all those in favour of motion 195, please show. Thank you. That's also carried. Thank you. We now move on. We will continue with motions relating to the NHS. So could I have the mover of motion 244 to the rostrum, please?
President Congress, Theresa Will, GMB Bonnie Scotland. Moving motion 244, the installation and use of automatic doors in all hospitals. Conference, it's known that most of hospitals in the UK don't have electronic doors. Can you imagine that you're an inpatient and that a porter is taking you from your ward to the operation theatre, radiology, or even for radiotherapy? The porter has to navigate you in a trolley to open fire doors to get you safely from A to B. I've had a discussion with our porters in the hospital where I work, in Gartnavel General Hospital in Glasgow, that has a Beatson Oncology Hospital attached. They've informed me that they've sustained injuries while pushing the trolley and having to open the doors. They've hurt their backs or even jammed their fingers or arms. They've also spoke about patients even to try and help them, which resulted in patients getting injured. Have you heard of PIR, Passive Infrared Sensor? This is a motion detector that doors have that you don't have to touch anything. As you walk forward, the door will open. PIR is a sensor that you don't even need to press. This should open when there's a general movement. So this would be a lot easier for everyone, even patients or staff that have their own wheelchairs, as they struggle to open these doors also. Regarding passive infrared, at night time, for security reasons, these are also automatically locked at main entrances into the hospital. If there's a fire alert, then these they automatically open as these are connected to the fire panel. There's also the push-button system that you activate the doors to open for you. These are called hospital access control systems. Any of these would give a better patient care and smooth running and patient transfer. Also, for all staff, would benefit these when moving equipment from various departments within the hospital. These are called hospital access control buttons. This is also a good idea, but they can easily be broken when patients or staff hit them too hard. Also, this can be an infection control problem, as how many staff, patients, would be touching these on a daily basis. Congress, we ask that GMB government to lobby the UK government and to work with the NHS to provide the finance that will help support the easy access for disabled staff, patients and also visitors. We ask that GMB encourage the government to support hospitals and act positively on the results to continue the fight for the rights of disabled people to access the building with ease, ensuring better accessibility for all. I move.
Thank you, Theresa. Seconder.
President Congress, Margaret Boyd, GMB Scotland. Hospitals are busy, high-pressure environments. Every day they serve patients with mobility challenges, elderly, parents with children, healthcare workers, pushing equipment, and countless others navigating stressful situations. One of the easiest ways we can improve their experience is by making hospital entry and movement more accessible, and automatic doors do just that. Accessibility, automatic doors make life easier for everyone, especially parents in wheelchairs or with limited strength. No one should have to struggle just to enter or exit a hospital. Hygiene. In a post-pandemic world, infection control is more important than ever. Manual doors are high-touch surfaces, hotspots for germs. Automatic doors reduce that risk, supporting cleaner, safer environments for both staff and patients. Third, efficiency. In emergencies or peak times, automatic doors help keep people and equipment moving. They reduce delays and improve the overall flow of traffic throughout the hospital. And finally, energy efficiency. Modern automatic doors are smart, equipped with sensors and timers that conserve energy and help regulate internal temperatures, reducing costs and supporting environmental goals. In conclusion, automatic doors aren't a luxury. They're a practical, necessary upgrade that improves safety, access, and the daily experience in our hospitals. Let's support this motion and take one more step toward a more inclusive and efficient healthcare system. Thank you, Congress.
Well done, Margaret. Thank you. Mover of motion 249, please.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, President. Thank you, Congress. I'm here for Lisa Edwards, first-time speaker, second-time delegate. Oh, first-time delegate, second-time speaker. I'm here for motion 249, subsidised flu vaccinations. As a support worker for over 10 years, this motion is close to my heart. School support staff, including teaching assistants, learning support staff, admin staff, caretakers, and other non-teaching roles. They are the backbone of the education system. Despite their essential role, they have long been overlooked, underpaid, undervalued. Why must GMB act? As a union representing thousands of school support staff, GMB have responsibility to campaign for basic health protection in the workplace. Ensuring access to subsidised vaccines is a public health measure and a matter of workplace safety. These demands align with GMB ongoing around the SSMB, the support school staff negotiating body, which is soon to be implemented, a new mechanism for national collective bargaining on pay and conditions for school support staff in England. Bargaining for health protections includes subsidised vaccines. Should we be a priority within the SSNB framework, recognising the health inequalities and the frontline risks faced by support staff? Our call to action. This Congress calls on GMB to campaign nationally for subsidised COVID-19 and flu vaccinations for all school support staff. Make this issue a core demand within the SSMB negotiations. Lobby government to recognise school support staff as essential frontline workers who deserve free or subsidised access to preventable health care. Work with public health bodies to ensure support staff are included in priority vaccination groups during any further outbreaks for pandemics. Protecting school support staff is not only a matter of fairness, it is an investment in the well-being of our school, our children and our communities. I move this motion.
Well done, Lisa. Seconder.
President, Congress, Trina Grover, South Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Thank you. I rise today to second 249. During the COVID-19 pandemic, support staff continued to attend school in person often without adequate protection or recognition. Many contracted COVID-19 at work, and some are now living with the long-term effect of long COVID, which significantly impacts their quality of life and ability to work. The expectation that support staff would, as a buffer between teachers and COVID-19 exposure, was never formalised, resourced or recognised. This is a clear example of occupation inadequately and a failure to adapt safeguarding frontline education works. The current situation, seasonal influenza continues to be a major public health concern, with rising case numbers and increasing pressures on hospitals each winter. Schools are high-risk environments for the transmission of respiratory illnesses, including COVID and flu, due to the close contact, poor ventilation, and the pressures of the children who may be asymptomatic carriers. Free flu vaccinations are currently only offered via the NHS to those with underlying health conditions, specifically age groups or in certain frontline health and social care roles. Most school support staff do not qualify for free access. Without subsidised access, many low-paid support staff simply cannot afford to pay privately for annual vaccination, putting their families and the school communities at risk. Congress, I second.
Well done, Tarina. Mover of motion 250, please.
Madam President, Congress, good morning. Robert Wheeler, London Region, moving motion 250, birth trauma. I rise to speak on behalf of thousands of women across the UK who carry not just their babies, but trauma of their birth for months, years, and sometimes a lifetime. Birth trauma is real, it's raw, and it's too common. In the UK today, too many mothers are left to suffer in silence after traumatic births with little or no psychological support or aftercare. Whether it's an emergency C-section, a difficult labour, or birth that simply did not go as planned, these experiences can leave deep emotional scar. And I know this because I have lived it. When my partner was told that our baby was in distress, she would need an emergency C-section, I was ready to be by her side, but instead I was told to leave the ward. When I refused, I was threatened with security to be removed. I stood my ground and I told them to call the police because I'm going nowhere. No parent should have to fight to be present at the birth of their child. No mother should be left alone at that moment of fear, vulnerability, and no family should carry the trauma that experience for a lifetime. Let me be clear. This is not the fault of our midwives. They are doing a heroic work under impossible conditions. They are overwhelmed by the administrative burdens and under-resourced and often unable to provide the emotional support they know their patients need. That's why we are calling for something bold and well overdue. We're calling on Congress to lobby the government to appoint a dedicated minister for midwifery, one whose sole responsibility is to oversee improvements in midwifery practices, develop national strategies to eliminate the psychological harm caused by current maternity care. We must ensure that no mother is left behind emotionally, mentally, or physically after giving birth. This is about dignity in childbirth. It's about respecting women's experiences, and it's about building a maternity that heals, not harm. Congress, we cannot allow birth trauma to remain invisible, and we cannot allow silence to be the standard of care. Please agree and support this motion for action for mothers, midwives, and the future generation. Vote for this motion 240, birth trauma. Congress, I move.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Seconder.
President, top table. Good morning, Congress. Morning! Beverly Gunning, Branch Secretary P06 Branch. Second time to Congress, second time speaking, second in motion 250. As I've lived in London Borough of Brent my whole life, and as a mother of 3, I've seen the deterioration of the midwifery service. The only midwifery service for most residents is in Northwick Hospital in Harrow, which is a bit far for me. So, as my deceased mother was a midwife and my deceased father read the midwifery book, I have been lucky as a black woman who had, unbeknown to me, had underlying health conditions. All my children were premature, from £1.12 to just under £5. Moving on, 4 out of my 6 grandchildren were born at Hammersmith Hospital. One granddaughter, the consultant discovered on a 24-week scan, to have 5 unbenign tumours on the brain. She's 9 now, and all the tumours have disappeared thanks to the constant monitoring by University College Hospital, brackets UCLH. Thank you, thank you. The midwifery service at Hammersmith Hospital, despite the lack of staff, over the years has been exceptional. Unfortunately, the lack of recruitment and removal of bursaries have taken its toll in the UK. Also, neglecting maternity wards due to birth trauma are on a significant rise. So I back Robert's comments and the union's recommendation that we lobby government to make this matter of the NHS reform a priority. I second this motion. Thank you.
Well done, Bev. Thank you. Mover of motion 257, please.
President, Congress, Becky Jones-Westcott, Wales and South West Region, woo! Moving motion 257. Congress, our social care system is not just creaking, it is on the brink of collapse. Every day, dedicated carers, overwhelmingly women, often from working class backgrounds, hold together the lives of our most vulnerable. Yet, they do so for little more than the minimum wage, with private companies refusing to pay a penny more than they have to. This is not just a workforce crisis, it is a moral crisis. There are over 150,000 vacancies in social care and turnover is at 30%. 2 million older people and 1.5 million working age adults are not getting the care they need. Behind these numbers are real people. Our parents, our neighbours, our friends, left waiting, struggling and sometimes suffering alone. Why? Because care work is undervalued, underpaid and under-respected. Successive governments have failed to deliver the long-term structural reform our sector so desperately needs. Short-term sticking plasters, fragmented funding and political point scoring have left care services in crisis. Our motion calls for a bold, practical step exempting care workers' meagre earnings from tax. This is not a handout, it is a recognition. It is an incentive to join and stay in the sector, to work the extra hours our communities desperately need. It's a signal that we value care work as much as any other essential public service. Congress, this is not just about money, it's about dignity, respect, justice for those who care and for those who are cared for. Let us send a clear message to government. Invest in care, invest in carers, and invest in the future of our society. Stand up for carers, stand up for dignity, and stand up for a care system worthy of the name. Please, please support the motion. I move.
Well done, Becky. Seconder, please.
President Congress, Yvonne Healy, Wales and South West Region, seconding motion 257, resolve the crisis in care. We all know someone who has relied on a social care, a loved one, a friend or a neighbour. We have seen the difference a compassionate carer make. We have also seen the toll of poverty pay and relentless pressure that takes on those workers. Let's be honest, the care sector is being squeezed every side, raising costs, chronic underfunding, and a workforce stretched to breaking point. The government's own figures show that even a recent funding announcement, the sector faces a financial black hole. Providers are closing, waiting lists are growing, and care workers are leaving in droves for better pay elsewhere. Our proposal to exempt care workers earning from tax is a lifeline. It would put money back in the pockets of those who need it most. It would help recruit, retain the skilled, compassionate workforce our community rely on it. And it will show finally that we value care as much as we value profit. Let's be clear, this is not a silver bullet. It is a step towards justice. It is a step towards care, to a care system that works for everyone, those who give care and for those who receive it. Congress, let's act with compassion and with courage. Let's back our carers. Let's resolve this crisis in care. Please support this motion.
Well done, Yvonne. Thank you. Any delegates wish to speak in opposition to these motions? No? In that case, can I ask Geraldine McVicker from the CEC to give the response? And can I have movers and seconders of motion 251 and composite 11 to be ready down the front, please?
Good morning, President, Congress. Geraldine McVicker, speaking on behalf of the CEC, responding to motions 250 and 257. Turning first to motion 250, GMB supports this important motion, which will continue the campaigning for increased funding and reform of maternity services. The qualification is, however, that GMB cannot appoint a minister, but we can lobby government to do so. On motion 257, while there may be a possible outcome of a new code introduction to provide an incentive to join the sector, many of the female workforce in the sector are on universal credit and manage their income through working part-time. While the care sector is in crisis for staffing levels, we also recognise that low-paid work occurs in retail and schools. Therefore, the formation of a new tax code focused solely on social care would have an unfair impact on low-paid workers in other sectors. GMB policy is to organise workers out of in-work poverty and to secure a fair pay agreement, to lobby local authorities to increase funding for social care so that workers receive the higher levels of pay for the value of the work they do. A referral would give the CEC the opportunity to talk to organisations such as the Low Pay Commission and its potential impacts and develop appropriate briefings. Therefore, Congress, we are asking that motion 250 be supported with a qualification, and for Wales and South West Region to agree to refer motion 257. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you. Does London Region agree to support the qualification, accept the qualification? Thank you. And does Wales and South West agree to refer? Thank you. Okay, CEC are supporting motions 244 and 249, so I'll take those as one. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? They're carried. Motion 250, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. Motion 257, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's also carried. Thank you. We move on to more motions relating to healthcare. So could I have the move of motion 251, please, to the rostrum?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, President. Good morning, Congress. Christina Piku, GMB London Region, speaking on full support of motion 251. Congress, we are seeing a growing community of older transgender people who deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, and understanding, not just in life, but in death. Right now, there is no mandatory training for care workers on trans healthcare. That means too many are left without the knowledge or confidence to care for trans residents in ways that honor their identity, their bodies, and their needs. We hear too often of trans people forced to hide their identity in life just to feel safe. Some are misgendered in their final days. Some are laid to rest with the wrong name on their headstones. That is not care. That is erasure. Being trans isn't about surgery or how someone looks. It's about who someone is and affirming someone's gender. Whether they're transgender or not, it's about recognizing their truth. Congress, many older trans people have spent decades hiding from discriminatory laws, hostile system, and unsafe service. We have a duty now to build services that are safe, inclusive, and proud to be LGBTQ. Mandatory training would give care workers the skills and confidence they need to support residents with compassion and respect, and ensure dignity in dying for all. Congress, let's make this GMB commitment, let's make it clear. We see our trans elders. We honor them. We will fight for them. Please support the motion. I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And the seconder? Formally, thank you very much, London. Move of Composite 11 then, please.
President, Congress, Jordan Millward, London Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Moving the Composite 11 motion. Across the UK, trans and non-binary people are facing hard opposition to accessing basic essential healthcare. Since the CAS review, many GPs have withdrawn from providing gender-affirming care like HRT, even when patients have a formal diagnosis and a treatment plan from a specialist. This forces patients into expensive private care, overstretched gender clinics, or the grey online market to self-medicate because they feel it's the only option to get the treatment that they need. For young people, it's even worse. The prescription of puberty blockers has been banned outside of clinical trials, despite decades of safe use for both trans and non-trans children. This decision ignores the voices of trans youth and their families and disregards the ethical concerns raised about conducting double-blind trials on time-sensitive treatment for those going through puberty. Real lives are being upended by these policies. One, Emily, noted in The Independent in December last year, was cut off from NHS HRT prescriptions and told to go private as her GP could, quote, no longer safely support prescription or monitoring of this, quote, specialist drug. Another, a trans man who got their diagnosis privately and had been on HRT through the NHS for 2 years, was cut off and told his choices were private prescriptions or a referral to the NHS gender clinics for an NHS diagnosis, where there is an estimated wait time of 8 years. No one, regardless of circumstances, should have to wait for any medical treatment for 8 years. Having spoken and gone permission to raise this as well, personally, from the first 14 years of my relationship with my partner, I was proud to be stepfather to a wonderful lad called Kyle. A year or so ago, when she came out as trans, I became the proud stepfather of a wonderful girl called Hannah. Her identity is valid. She deserves to know that she is loved and deserves to know that not just me, but the union movement will never stop supporting her and fighting for her rights. She is entitled, as are all trans people, to prompt and accessible gender-affirming care. The General Medical Council says the provision of HRT prescriptions to trans people isn't a specialised area and requires no specialised expertise. Apparently, Dame Cass and the government know better. This is all part of a general erosion of rights of minority groups. The same forces restricting trans healthcare are part of a broader right-wing culture war against human equality and dignity. If we allow these rollbacks to continue, it won't stop with them, because those who hold these views never stop. They will just move to another minority and then another. Comrades, please support this motion and continue to show that the union movement opposes division of the working class and stands in solidarity with our LGBT brothers, sisters and siblings. There is no LGB without the T, and there is no working class without solidarity. Comrades, I move.
Thank you, Jordan. Seconder? Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, seconder from Wales and South West.
President Congress, Jeff Sutton, the amazing Wales and the South West. Second in Composite 11. Congress, you heard my colleagues speak not just about healthcare or policy, but about human dignity, about the right of every single person to be treated with respect, with compassion and with fairness, values that our movement have always stood for and must never walk away from. Congress, in the wake of the Cass report, our trans and non-binary community are facing renewed barriers in accessing the care they need to live healthy, authentic lives. We're seeing GPs refuse to continue prescribing hormone replacement therapy, even when diagnosis already exists. This is not just bad healthcare, it is discrimination in practice. Let's call this what it is, a continuation of the culture war waged on marginalised people, now dressed up in lab coats and policy papers. When a Labour government continues a policy born from cruelty under the Tories, we have to ask, what are they doing? The facts are plain. The same puberty blockers now criminalised for trans youth can still be prescribed for non-trans children facing early puberty. The double standard is shameful. And we know what this means. Young people unable to access care, adults forced onto black market hormones, risking their health to simply be themselves. The Council of Europe International human rights experts, the medical professionals across the board have condemned this approach. So must we. Congress, this isn't just about healthcare, it's about rights, dignity and survival. We in the union movement have always stood with marginalised, from standing shoulder to shoulder with LGBT groups during the miners' strike, in fighting for equal pay, equal rights and equal dignity at work. Our values are clear. Now when trans people are under attack, we must be just as clear. We demand that trans youth have access to the care they need, that GPs honour their duty of care and not abandon trans people, that no trans worker should face discrimination in the workplace. Above all, we demand that trans and non-binary people are treated with the same humanity, the same respect and the same rights of every one of us. Let's be a movement that turns the tide, that remembers our proud history and writes the next chapter with courage, compassion and clarity. Support this motion. Stand with our trans and non-binary siblings.
Well done, Jeff. I don't see anybody wants to speak in opposition, so I'll ask Dawn Lowitt from the CEC to take the rostrum and give our reply. Can I ask movers of motions 166, 167, 168 and 170 to come down as well to the front?
President, Congress, Dawn Lowitt speaking on behalf of the CEC, responding to Composite 11, which we are supporting with a qualification. Thank you to the branches for the motions. Solidarity with trans and non-binary people is important to long-held GMB policy, which these motions build on. We take this opportunity to reiterate our solidarity with our trans members, as well as GMB members who are parents and relatives of young trans people. Our qualification is that we are not experts in this very specialist subject and quickly developing areas of medicine, so we will not be able to give informed comment on each area. However, we can continue to call on the government to ensure that trans and non-binary people of all ages, including children, can access the evidence-based NHS treatment they need, including HRT, promptly, locally and without right-wing political interference. We have existing workplace rights campaign, the Trans and Non-Binary Equality at Work Toolkit, with a 4-hour training session available. We ask branches to strengthen this campaign by getting in touch with National Office for support in using the toolkit in GMB organised workplaces. Politically, GMB works with and influences both through government and through the GMB group of MPs who are Labour members. We do not typically seek to work with other parties or groups. Our work with LGBTQ+ sector organisations will be primarily channelled through the TUC LGBT+ Committee and its Trade Unions for Trans and Non-Binary Rights Alliance. GMB will continue to advocate in this area with our LGBT+ activists in line with our expertise and power in the workplace. Please support with this qualification.
Thank you, Dawn. Do London and Wales and South West accept the qualification? Yes, thank you very much. Motion 251, CCR supporting. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. All those in favour of Composite 11, please show. Thank you. That's anyone against? That's also carried. Thank you. We now move to, we continue with public sector motions, because I have the speaker of 166, please, on the mover of 166. On the right page? Well. Is there a mover of 166, London region? No? Is it okay? It's out of order on my page as well now. Okay. Can I have the mover of motion 167 then, please? Thank you, London region. It's out of order.
Morning, Congress. President, Alan Law, London region, moving motion 167, care homes. Congress, we bring your attention to ongoing problems with care homes. Norse Care is a company owned by Norfolk County Council. A few months ago, it announced it was closing Lindell Court in Watton, Norfolk. Last year, the firm also closed Springdale in Brundall, near Norwich in Norfolk, and Burnham House in Terrington St John's, Kings Lynn, also in Norfolk. This sparks concerns about the future of the remaining care services in the county. The closure are attributes to factors such as changes to fire regulations, rising social care costs, and the need for substantial investments to adapt buildings for increasingly complex care needs. The government advised as long ago as 2006 that it should be possible under normal operating conditions to evacuate any given protected area in 2.5 minutes. Mr. Cuff, the head of Prevention and Protection for Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service, said it was a legal requirement that all staff were able to evacuate people safely according to government guidelines. With government funding constantly being reduced to local councils, which in turn add huge pressures on all the departments within local government. This will see all aspects of caring departments suffer to the lack of money. Lack of investment in staff, education and infrastructure makes it hard for care homes to survive. We, the GMB, need to put pressure on this government to encourage care systems to be properly funded. Seeing in local media how much it affects residents when their home is closed, upsetting to say the least. Also the effect it has on well-being. Government, county council and borough council must work together to fund and find the best way forward. This nation of ours is living much longer, and these problems will not go away. You can't hide them in the cupboard. With the right funding, organisations staffing care homes will have to be a priority of the future. Let's make no mistake, this is, if we don't do it right, other departments will suffer greatly at a much higher cost. The recent minimum wage has gone up. Congress, care workers are worth much more than the minimum wage. Carers will become the future employees in most towns and cities. The government and future must make sure carers are paid a fair wage for amazing work they do. You never know when your loved ones will need them. Our population is growing. Our care and support must grow with it. Congress, I move.
Thank you, Alan. Second it.
Good morning. President, Congress, brothers, sisters, Cliff Roney, London Region, seconding motion 167, care homes. We need to shout from the rooftops about how important carers and care homes are going to be in the future. We are living longer, and this has created huge pressure on carers and care homes. As my colleague has just mentioned in his motion, residents will need looking after, which means funding has to be made available. We must care for the elderly. At present, vulnerable people often do not get a choice on which care home they're going into, often miles away from their family, friends and care groups. They have physical challenges. The care homes they are in often closing without family or friends to be around them. Who knows where this is going to lead for the future? We must care for the elderly. Retirement age will continue to rise, forcing the elderly to work and survive financially. I say this at a time when the government didn't feel any emotion when they took away the heating allowance. Keir Starmer won't be turning down a thermostat, will he? No. They have as much right to a good life as everybody else does. We must care for the elderly. They need reassuring when they move into care homes for basic needs, i.e. safety, well-being, nutrition, comfort. In Norfolk and other parts of East Anglia, there has been a number of care homes which have closed. This cannot be right. Care homes of today must be brought up to the highest standards. They must, in every single way, include all the health and safety, and all the risks must be covered. They must carry on investing in people and equipment. We cannot become short-sighted. My children, Kaylee, Paula, my grandchildren, Henry and Logan, should not have to be worrying about paying for care in the future. This is not a problem for tomorrow, it's a problem for today. Congress, please get behind this. I second.
Thank you, Cliff. Motion of 168.
Good morning, President, Congress, comrades, friends. Islamiat Onigbanjo, representing North-West and Irish region, speaking on motion 168, cuts to police staff. Second-time delegate, first-time speaker. Congress, successive governments have failed to invest in policing adequately. To be totally honest, what's happening to our police service right now is nothing short of a crisis. We're seeing large numbers of police officers and police staff being cut. The Met has lost up to 2,300 officers. Lincoln has lost up to 400 officers. Essex, just to name a few, 200 roles. The cuts do not only affect police officers, they impact hard-working, diligent police staff too. The cuts affect the PCSOs, the call handlers, the forensic team, the admin staff, the very people who keep the whole system running. Ask yourself a question. What will happen when they go? Crime goes up, response times go down, communities feel less safe. The people left behind, those still doing the job, are facing burnout. We are losing officers on the beat, the ones who know the streets, that keep them safe. We're losing PCSOs, who are the bridge between the police and the community. We're losing the back office staff behind the scenes who ensure justice works. This isn't just about numbers, it's about lives. It's about safety, it's about trust. Let's be clear, the lack of investment started under the Tories, but Labour government hasn't stopped the decline. They're talking a good talk, but the cuts are still happening. So here's what I believe. Congress, we should be saying loud and clear, this GMB Congress demands that the Labour Party step up, fix the funding shortfall, support all police staff, not just police officers, but everyone who makes policing possible. Invest in rebuilding our police service so they're safe and fully staffed. We're reasonable people. We're not asking for miracles. We're asking for commitment, for action from a government that backs the people who keep our communities safe. Finally, I would like the motion to be a catalyst for change, to drive the investment agenda forward. I would like GMB to lobby the relevant MPs to place this discussion on the agenda as part of the new spending review. Congress, I move.
Thank you, colleague. Seconder. Mover of 170.
Good morning, President, Chair, Congress. My name is Melissa Johnson from the North West and Irish region. I'm here to move to end primary authority schemes. This motion calls for a return to meaningful, independent regulatory oversight of health and safety issues within workplaces, specifically those overseen by local authorities. Currently, as it stands, the Health and Safety Executive is only the enforcing authority for workplaces that have been deemed high risk. The remaining 1.6 million workplaces fall under the remit of the local authority. The primary authority scheme was originally introduced to simplify regulation for businesses who operate across multiple locations and therefore multiple local authorities across the UK. Under this arrangement, a business can form a partnership with a single local authority, the primary authority, to receive assured advice on regulation that the other local regulators are then expected to honour. For example, Asda, my employer, has an agreement with Wakefield Council under this scheme. The primary authority is paid by the business. Promises are made to reduce liabilities, and a block is placed on all other local authorities intervening on these decisions. Coupled with this employer-friendly arrangement, there's a concerning lack of enforcement, which has only got worse as the scheme has expanded. This puts our members at risk. Between 2009 and 2020, under this scheme, enforcement notices from local authorities fell by 67%. When issues arise, the primary authority is the one taking charge, and essentially, they're marking their own homework. This not only affects enforcement notices, but also prosecutions. In 2010, 284 prosecutions were brought by local authorities. By 2020, that number had fallen to 55. This results in a two-tier system, whereby wealthy employers are able to block the involvement of a local authority who have legitimate concerns. Decisions should be made at the local level. How is it right that if I have an issue in my store in Barrow, the local authority, Westmoreland and Furness Council, are bound by a decision made 100 miles away by Wakefield Council? They probably couldn't even tell you where Barrow was on a map. Meanwhile, proactive inspections have fared even worse, falling 97% between 2010 and 2016. This is a problem, as health and safety concerns can be downplayed as a primary authority has previously signed off on these procedures. This is an issue we've been fighting as reps for our own Asda members. In 2020, Asda introduced a new 10-tote trolley used by the home shopping pickers, which was taller and heavier than the trolleys used by competitors. It's directly resulted in members suffering musculoskeletal injuries. Only after an organised effort from the GMB members and reps did Asda agree to a review. Efforts to involve the primary authority fell flat, as they'd worked hand in glove with Asda to introduce the trolleys in the first place, and no other local authority could override this. Congress, primary authority schemes mean far fewer employers are being brought to justice. There's been no fall in injury or ill health statistics during this time, so it can't be attributed to fewer employers putting their workforce at risk, but it can be attributed to the way that primary authorities are being manipulated. Therefore, Congress, I ask you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Seconder.
Morning, Congress. President. Patrick Timpson, North Western Irish region, seconding motion 170. Congress, it is said that primary authority schemes save British business £50 million a year, but this is a drop in the ocean next to the £100 billion business loses through sickness. With the two major causes being stress and musculoskeletal injuries, it's clear that compliance within the workplace is integral not just to our members' well-being, but also reducing costs. Primary authority schemes lack both the teeth and the will to tackle health and safety issues and protect our members. Even the ability to charge rogue employers for the time and resource of health and safety professionals is absent. Where a breach is found, the HSE are able to charge £129 an hour for return visits, report writing and getting specialist advice. Local authorities, meanwhile, have no such powers. It is, of course, possible to challenge a primary authority who you believe is making an error in law. However, the government's own report into this is damning. stating that the ability to challenge the primary authority's view is severely curtailed in practice. We simply do not have the resource to pursue this other than in the most serious cases. This is not necessarily good for good regulation and for ensuring compliance. Congress, we are in agreement that streamlining advice is an understandable and even commendable aim. However, the money saved by employers is not being invested back into health and safety. We've seen this at Asda, who firstly abandoned their own auditing processes before removing admin managers and HR managers. The outcome was GMB members taking health and safety matters into their own hands, taking action and forcing the company to act. This year, Asda responded by hiring an external company to complete workplace audits. But we have to ask the question, where was the primary authority during this period? Congress, please support this motion.
Thank you, Patrick. Does any... No, thank you. Can I now ask Gwendolyn Brinkworth to respond on behalf of the CEC, and also ask those who's moving and seconding motions 175, 76 and 77 come to the front, please.
President, Congress, Goyle and Brinkworth responding to motions 167 and 168 on behalf of the CEC. On motion 167, the CEC agrees the best practice is for social care to be kept under the local authority control, as this delivers the best terms, conditions, training and safety standards in comparison to the Wild West of the private sector. The qualification to this motion is that GMB at Work organising strategy is the best way to deal with matters raised in the motion. A strategy which brings workers and communities together would be a more effective way of shaming local authorities into keeping their care homes open or bringing services back in-house, alongside making improvements to terms and conditions of our members. Finally, on motion 168, although headed cuts to police staff, the motion mainly refers to police officers. Our qualification is that our efforts will be focused on police staff, as officers are not in our membership. We have recently written to the Home Secretary seeking assurance that any rise in police officer numbers is matched by a rise in police staff numbers, and also the police staff are protected from the ongoing de-civilianisation of their roles. Congress, please support motions 167 and 168 with the qualifications I have outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. Does London agree on the qualification on 167? North Western Irish agree on qualification 168? All those in favour of 167, please show. Any against? That's carried. All those in favour of 168, please show. Any against? That's carried. And all those in favour of 170, please show. Any against? That's carried. Could I now have the mover of 175 to the rostrum, please?
President, Congress, Alex Hitter, Southern Region, South London University's branch. First-time delegate, first-time speaker. I'm moving motion 175, Vice-Chancellor's pay. Universities across the country are facing financial challenges, almost all instituting budget restraint in some form or other, with some taking more drastic action, cutting courses and jobs. One expenditure seemingly not under review is pay for Vice-Chancellors. Average Vice-Chancellor's pay reached £340,000 per year in 2025, according to the Times Higher Education Supplement. At the university I work at, the ratio of the Vice-Chancellor's pay to the median pay of the rest of the workforce rose between 2022 and 23 from 680% of the average salary to 740% of the average salary. And these figures do not include hourly paid staff, who make up the bulk of the academic and much of the support and technical workforce, and who are employed precariously on contracts that can change at the discretion of the employer and offer no guarantee of work beyond the end of each academic year. Universities rely on tuition fees for funding. The shortfall in many universities' budgets is forcing them to prioritise international students ahead of home ones, as they can charge them double the standard fee which are already set to rise for the first time since 2017 to £9,535,000 per year from the beginning of the academic year 25-26. However, the government's changes to immigration policy have made our universities a less attractive prospect for international students. The only solution, therefore, will be to raise fees even further, so both home and international students will be paying more. Earlier this year, at the university I work at, after announcing financial control measures to curb expenditure, when the Vice-Chancellor was asked about the possibility of a freeze on increases to the salaries of senior staff, especially her own, she said it would be considered. Meanwhile, a voluntary severance scheme was announced for the rest of the staff. Naturally, Vice-Chancellors cutting their salaries would not be nearly enough to make up the shortfall that many universities are seeing. However, high pay for Vice-Chancellors is always justified, as it is in any industry, with the assertion that it will attract top talent. But given how many Vice-Chancellors are failing in their leadership, for example by choosing to pursue desperate dice roll vanity projects aimed at attracting overseas students, such as overseas or London campuses, without success and at the expense of the staff without whom the universities they lead would not be able to operate, is it unreasonable for staff to question the quality of the talent these inflated salaries pay for? I therefore call on Congress to put whatever pressure it can on universities to halt the spiralling pay of university Vice-Chancellors. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Seconder.
President, Congress, my name is Abiodun Omotosho, Southern Region, fourth-time delegate, fourth-time speaker. Our university relied on public funding and student tutor fees. When universities are facing financial pressures, such as cuts in government funding, rising student debt, or even staff layoff, but our Vice-Chancellor keep on rising up while universities are freezing pay for the rest of their staff. Is this fair? Certainly no. That is not just unfair, it is unacceptable. Everyone should be treated the same. Universities are increasingly being run like business. This has led to criticism that universities are now focused on profit rather than educational mission. It was reported that Vice-Chancellor earns $400,000, while other workers are feeling the effects of austerity. There should be transparent and accountability in the Vice-Chancellor's pay. Everyone deserves dignity of a decent wages. I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mover 177, please. Sorry, 176. Apologise for that.
I'm doing both of them, so no harm done. President Congress, Alex Sitter again, Southern Region, South London University's branch, moving motion 176, invest in higher education. As I've mentioned, there's a financial crisis affecting the higher education sector, and I urge Congress to call on the government to act. We've seen grim announcements about cutting courses from the universities of Dundee, Cardiff, Durham and East Anglia, to name a few. And with these cut courses, jobs are set to be lost as well. According to The Guardian, as many as 10,000 jobs could be at risk across the sector. Some areas, such as Cardiff, will be left without local options for vital courses. Cardiff will be losing its nursing course from the academic year 25-26. There is also a disproportionate effect on courses which are not seen as essential, like those in the arts and humanities. Particularly affected is the offer of courses to study music, with the end of music provision at the universities of Oxford Brookes, Roehampton and Wolverhampton from 2025. For the government not to step in to support such courses, which are a prerequisite for a flourishing arts and entertainment industry, is short-sighted at best. For more than 2 decades, universities have been forced to run as if they're businesses, with government funding gradually taken away and universities expected to fund themselves almost entirely off the backs of the increasing fees they charge their students, many of whom are now questioning the value for money of the courses they've worked hard to be able to enroll onto. Universities are forced to prioritise attempting to increase student numbers, while a ruthless, business-orientated leadership model forces cuts to staff, facilities and equipment to stay afloat. As a result, student satisfaction is rapidly going downhill, as are applications to study at our higher education institutions. And with that, the fees that make up the majority of our university's funding are in decline. The attitude of cramming students in and teaching them on the cheap risks jeopardising the government's own industry strategy, as it hopes these problems will just go away in a sector which has been estimated at being worth as much as £265 billion to the UK economy, and which, as I say, is now facing a crisis. Historically, higher education has driven social mobility. Until the imposition of tuition fees, working class people could attend university for free alongside those from more privileged backgrounds. The implementation of tuition fees, which first came shamefully under a Labour government and which were then tripled by the coalition government in 2012, and the disadvantageous terms and conditions of the Plan 2 student loan scheme, mean that higher education is now less accessible to students from working class and lower income backgrounds, and less worthwhile for those from those backgrounds who are able to access it. I therefore urge Congress to call on the government to review how it funds this vital sector, which provides much needed education, training and skills for industries that are crucial to the UK's future economic growth, and how it supports both those who work and study in higher education. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Seconder.
President, Congress, my name is Abiodun Omotosho, Southern Region, support secondary motion 176. Investing in higher education can offer significant return, both personally and economically. As most institutions are cutting staffs and government reducing their fund, this has led to loss of jobs, unemployment rates going up in the country. Institutions are not able to carry out their tasks. New courses are not introduced due to insufficient fund. But if there is an adequate funding in all our higher education, it will make higher education more attractive in all standards. From lower income, promoting social mobility, it can lead to increased earning and reducing unemployment. As well, as we all know, that education plays a crucial role in providing long-life learning opportunity for individuals in all sectors. I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. Mover 177. And while they're coming up, could I just ask those that's waiting to speak at the front to please ensure not to talk whilst delegates are speaking at the rostrum, as it is very disturbing, and could we try and keep it to a minimum in the hall too? Thank you.
Just one more from me. President Congress, Alex Hitter, Southern Region, South London University's branch, moving motion 177, senior leadership in higher education. Despite the financial hardships many universities are facing, we've seen a proliferation of senior management roles which offer little apparent value to the average frontline worker. At the university I work at, from 2022 to 2023, there was an increase in those earning salaries over £100,000 a year from 14 to 27. Last year, the head of our HR department left. It was announced that she would not be replaced and that her work would be taken on by an existing senior manager. This left many of us on the ground wondering how much work either of them could actually have been doing in the first place. In the last 2 weeks, it's been announced that 2 further senior managers are leaving, each of whom headed up departments that were both expensive and unpopular, as they were both seen by many as being surplus to requirements, and one of them is a restructure program that's left many staff fearful of the prospect of further redundancies. Both departments' projects are yet to be completed, and neither of these managers are being replaced, so presumably the projects are being abandoned, having wasted money and upset staff. It was not surprising that when the announcements were made to inform staff that these managers were leaving, comments were turned off. These projects also come at a time when the joint trade unions at my university have been pressuring the university to end the scandal of outsourced facilities, cleaning and catering staff, only to be told that the university lacks staff with the expertise to bring these vital services back in-house. The university I work at is not the only one where the value for money of senior management staff has come into question. It was reported in Private Eye that senior staff at the University of West Scotland took a combined total of 120 flights to the university's London campus last year, although that is down from 200 in 2023. This despite a challenging financial environment that may entail staff cuts. The proliferation of senior staff roles which often contribute only to vanity projects, is a waste of the tuition fees students are paying and which are set to rise by 3.1% as of the next academic year. I therefore urge Congress to put what pressure it can on universities to reconsider both the number and roles of senior management staff at universities. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Seconder.
President, Congress, my name's Tina Davis and I'm from the Severn region. Seconding motion 177. The unchecked growth of senior leadership roles in higher education is not just a concern, it's a crisis that undermines our academic institutions. Over the past decade, we've seen an explosion in senior leadership positions. Pro-Vice Chancellors, Deputy Deans, Strategic Transformations, sorry darlings, but here we go. Directors, titles that multiply while frontline teaching staff face pay freezes. Casual contracts, constant pressure to do more with less. Meanwhile, the salaries for these senior posts often reach six-figure sums, with added perks that stand in stark contrast to the insecurity faced by lecturers, support staff and researchers. Education is being treated like a business. This is not about envy, it's about priorities. When institutions plead property while continuing to expend their executive roles, they reveal a system skewed in favour of their hierarchy. I can't pronounce it, but here we go, you know what I mean. Over humanity. The introduction of the 2018 voluntary code to curb excessive senior pay was a smokescreen. It was never binding and it has failed. The appointment of high-profile individuals, some people are not going to like this, I always call him Fishy Sunak, to a prestigious role at Oxford only reinforces the message leadership is rewarded while work is disregarded. We have to challenge the narrative. The senior management deserves ever-increasing rewards while those who teach, support, care for students and told to tighten their belts. The soul of higher education is not found in a boardroom, it's in the lecture hall, the lab, the library.
Can you wind up now, please, Tina?
Support this motion. Let's demand meaningful, long-term oversight and return to fairness in our universities. Education isn't for profit, it's a right, not a product. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Does anyone wish to speak against any of the motions? No? Can I now call Dave Flanagan to give the qualification of the CEC and ask all those movers and seconders 179, 189 and 191 come to the front, please.
Good morning, Congress. Dave Flanagan, North Western Irish Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC on motions 175 and 177, which we are supporting with qualifications. On motion 175, we thank the branch for highlighting the financial crisis that many universities are in. Many also have plans for redundancies, severance schemes and recruitment pauses. In 2024, some universities deferred pay rises for staff for 11 months for financial reasons. Pay for HE employees is determined by collective bargaining, but Vice-Chancellor pay is set by the governing body of each institution. Universities are not seen as part of the public sector and have charitable status. Our short qualification is that Vice-Chancellors are employed on an individual contract and neither the Minister for Higher Education or the Secretary of State currently has the ability to intervene. On motion 177, there have been an increase in the number of senior leaders, but there is an absence of evidence. As a cost-saving measure, the last government closed the Higher Education Statistics Authority in 2023, which used to produce information on staffing. Our qualification is that GMB may not have the resources to monitor the sector in the way that the motion wants, but we will endeavour to organise workers to build our collective strengths in the sector. Therefore, the CEC is asking Congress to support motions 175 and 177 with the qualifications I have outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Does Southern agree on the qualifications on 175 and 177? Thank you. All those in favour of 175, please show. Any against? That's carried. All those in favour of 176, please show. Any against? That's carried. And all those in favour of 177, please show. Any against? That's carried. Could the mover of motion 179 please come to the rostrum?
Vice President, Congress, Jackie Kitchen, proud member of North East Yorkshire and Humber, moving motion 179. I'm a care worker and a lead care rep for HC1 in Durham. And just in case I'm not busy enough, I also sit on the National Negotiating Committee for Pay Talks and any other issues, and the National Care Committee. Around 5 years ago, the country went into lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In my care home in Durham, we kept the virus at bay till the May that year. Then we got our first positive case. It overwhelmed us, and out of 87 residents, 67 of those tested positive, and we ended up losing, sadly, 27 of those. Of course, we also had a high percentage of staff tested positive. As low-paid and frontline workers, our only saving grace was that due to government funding, we were paid a full wage. So at least we didn't have to worry about paying the bills. This rug was pulled from under us, however, in June 2022, when government funding stopped. We asked why. COVID was still out there, but obviously the last 2 years meant nothing to our kind care provider. It was back to basic SSP and 3 waiting on days. No more claps for our services, no more fair sick pay. A member survey for Pay Talks highlighted this was a priority issue for our members. Planning meetings took place and the Sick of SSP campaign was launched. Our asks were simple: sign a petition, wear a sticker, and have your photograph taken to show your support. In a 6-week period, we got over 2,000 signatures and we recruited a massive 630 new members, all keen to have their voices heard. We even delivered the petition to HC1 head office for maximum effect. Our offer came in and a ballot accepted this by 54%, and we won SSP from day one for 19,500 staff. This was a landmark win in one of the biggest care companies in the UK. In 2024, the pay talks started again, and the members again prioritised sick pay, and the SSP campaign was reignited. The petition this year was replaced with a sick note, letting HC1 know that staff were still sick of SSP, but this year we asked for £40 a day for the first 3 days. Pay talks commenced, and as part of our final offer, we were offered £40 a day, effective from the 1st of October this year. This was accepted by 90% of our members. We again recruited many new members this year. I don't know exact figures, I'm sorry, but we also recruited 10 new prospective reps. Sick pay is a vital condition that is essential in the care sector, not only for the carers, but for those we care for too. Every year we win more because we can show that workers are engaged in the campaign. It's something they want and they're not afraid to show it. There's strength in numbers, and without us care workers joining together, we give care companies the message that we're happy with the status quo. We certainly are not. This campaign shows that with easy actions, you can send a message that employers can't ignore. Just by signing a petition...
Can you wind up now, please, Jacqueline?
Yeah, be 2 seconds. We can secure sick pay for 19,500 workers. You can do it too. As care workers, we're undervalued, underestimated and underpaid. Sick pay is a right. Yeah. So Congress, please support your care workers, demand fair pay for all care workers to make this national campaign. By sticking together and fighting back, we can make a difference to hundreds and thousands of more care workers in this country. I move.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Second it.
Vice President, Congress. Michelle Hunt from the Great Big North East Yorkshire and Humber region. In my role as a retail rep for Asda, I look after hundreds of members. These members don't get access to SSP for 3 days, regardless of their length of service, health condition or family experiences. And of course, similar to the care sector, we're predominantly female workers. For years, the union movement has worked to improve the lives of working people. The disgrace of a two-tier system of sick pay is the fight of today. Congress, please support this motion.
Mover of 189.
Hello again. Marzena Sporowska-Haget, Southern Region, Merton Branch. Motion 189, fair deals for civil servants. Congress, President. I move motion 189 because it speaks to fundamental issue, fairness. MPs and civil servants are both public servants. Both are paid for public purse. Yet, when it comes to cost of living pay awards, they are treated entirely differently. And it's time we call that out. In February 2025, the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority announced a 2.8% pay rise for MPs. Meanwhile, many civil servants, our GMB members, are still facing low, capped, or even zero increases. When they do get a rise, it often comes with catch. Give up overtime rates, sacrifice holidays, or change allowances. This is not just the pay gap, it's a respect gap. Since 2011, MPs no longer vote on their own pay. IPSA now sets it, and since 2015, it's been linked to average public sector pay. But here is the problem. Civil servants don't get those averages. Their pay is negotiated department by department under strict Treasury guidance, and any increases often come as a cost. Civil servants are the people who staff borders, run justice system, process benefits, keep government functioning. They are dedicated, professional, stretched. And they've spent the last decade managing cuts, pay freezes, and raising workloads. Meanwhile, MPs enjoy automatic, stable, above inflation increases, without negotiation, without delay. This motion doesn't call for special treatment, it calls for equal treatment. If MPs can have dependable cost of living pay increases, so should the civil servants who support the country every day. The CEC rightly notes that MP pay is now set by an independent body. But that's no reason for us to stay silent on unfairness facing our members. We should be demanding a fair, consistent system for civil servants too, one that doesn't force them to give up hard-won terms just to keep up with inflation. We are not saying cut MPs' pay. We are saying if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. Congress, support fairness. Support our civil service members. Support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. Seconder.
I know it's going to say Charlotte up there, but it's, you'll all know me as Charlie. So, Charlie Lunn, Southern Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. President of Congress, I rise to second the motion 189, fair deals for civil servants, because quite frankly, it's a matter of basic fairness and moral leadership. Let us remember that civil servants are the backbone of our government. They are the ones keeping departments running, answering public needs, drafting vital policies and delivering essential services to keep the country moving. Yet when it comes to financial recognition, especially in the cost of living crisis that we're in, they're often left with crumbs while MPs enjoy the lion's share. We're told that MPs don't set their own pay, but let's not forget that the body that does is itself a product of a system that remains detached from lived experience of ordinary public sector workers. MPs gleefully accept these higher increases with self-virtuous justification why they're so deserved, while voting through minimal awards for the civil service. Their message is clear: one rule for them and another for the workers. We're in the middle of a national crisis where food, fuel and housing costs are rising faster than wages. Civil servants, some of whom are now relying on food banks, are expected to do more with less every year. Meanwhile, MPs, already on salaries more than double that of an average civil servant, have also the privilege of generous expenses, subsidised meals and often second incomes. If public service is truly about serving, then those at the top should lead by example and not exception. Equal cost of living pay awards would not just be fair, it sends a powerful message that we're in it together and goes beyond some nice words in a speech. It will show up in policy and in pay. I urge you to support this motion for a commitment to justice, dignity and respect for all who serve this country and not privilege for the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Mover of 191.
Good afternoon, Vice President, Congress. Kim Inglis from Sunderland, North East Yorkshire and Humber region. Standing here today to propose motion 191, a motion that is about mine and thousands of other women day-to-day experiences. I work in domiciliary care, spending days caring for the most vulnerable residents of the North East. And you will of course not be surprised to hear that we are mainly a female workforce. Now, I've been in the union for years, but what really got me passionate and involved was when I realised that my local authority had done the dirty on me and my fellow workforce, putting our services into an arm's length organisation, paying us less than men on equivalent roles, and removing us from the local government pension scheme. Thanks to the personal intervention from Gary, with support from the team of the North East Yorkshire and Humber region, we launched a campaign of equal pay. Since then, we've built a great network of activists, equal pay champions, grown the union and recruited hundreds of members. I can honestly say that this has changed my life, and when we win for the lives, it will change lives of thousands in Sunderland. Congress, we all know the state of the local government finances, but will not let low-paid women pay the cost of years of government austerity. On this issue, more than perhaps any other, we call upon all those Labour MPs and councillors we have supported through money and resources to step up to the plate. Stand by the values of Barbara Castle and demand that there is a fair settlement. We see this fight as a national one, a fight that we have having given dozens of local authorities across the country. In Sunderland, we take ideas and inspiration from our sisters in Birmingham and offer our solidarity to those still fighting for pay justice. Congress, I know that sometimes equal pay conversations can be difficult. I know in some in the movements and even within the union would rather that we didn't always shine the light too closely. But our movement, the movement to better the lives of working people, is nothing if it doesn't raise us all up. So Congress, please support this motion and let's win equal pay in every council across the region.
Thank you, Kimberly. Seconder.
Good afternoon, Congress, Vice President, Dave Riddle, North East Yorkshire and Humber Region. Second motion 191, equal pay in local government. Today I'm speaking with two hats on. First hat is that of a branch secretary in Sunderland Council, where I'm proud of the work that Kim and her fellow activists are carrying out as they lead the campaign for pay justice. I'm also wearing the hat of that of a member of our regional committee supporting cross-regional campaigns. In North East Yorkshire and Humber, we are investing seriously in equal pay. We've got live campaigns running in Sunderland, Sheffield, Barnsley, Rotherham, Durham, Leeds, Bradford and more are just around the corner. So far, over 5,000 women have lodged claims, and I know that's going to grow massively in the coming months. Those campaigns are worth millions of pounds and are going to deliver thousands of pounds into the pockets of low-paid women and will transform so many lives. The fight for equal pay is all of ours, wherever we are, whatever background or gender. So, Congress, please support for the fight for equal pay. Support this motion. I second.
Thank you, David. Anyone wish to speak against any of the motions? No, thank you. Can I now then call on Francis Drum to give the qualification for the CEC and ask the mover and seconder of motion 184 to come to the rostrum, please.
Good morning, President. Good morning, Congress. Francis Drum, responding to motion 189, which we are supporting with a qualification. The spirit of the motion is correct, but there's no instruction to GMB. In line with the CEC statement on pay and the cost of living from 2021, Congress agreed that Congress does not seek to bind the hands of our negotiators by dictating the detail of negotiation. At the same time, Congress, as a supreme policy-making body of the Union, does establish important principle that reps and officers should have regard to in negotiations. This is important to note as MPs' pay has been tacked to average pay increase since 2015 as indexed by the Office for National Statistics. GMB policy recognizes that the best measure of change to cost of living is through RPR, which is retail price index rate of inflation. We would not wish for Congress to predetermine what civil service workers aspire for in their pay claims. Congress, please support this motion with the qualification. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Does Southern agree the qualification on 189? Thank you. All those favour of 179, please show. Any against? That's carried. Will all those in favour of 189, please show. Any against? That's carried. And will all those in favour of 191, please show. Any against? That's carried. Could the mover of 184 please come?
afternoon. Karen Morell, Midlands Region, moving motion 184. President, Congress. Whether you get paid for time spent on mandatory training can depend on your contract. If you are an employee, or worker and started work after the 6th of April 2020, then any mandatory training must be written in your contract. Some employers expect you to complete this in your own time. Now, I'm going to ask you a question now, and I'd like your response, please. Do you think that's fair? No, let's be a bit louder. Do we think that's fair? No, we don't. We don't. So we ask this Congress to campaign to remove or change this law and to advocate a new law that all mandatory and work-related training be fully paid by the employer, and workers should complete such training during their normal working hours. We ask that we work with other trade unions and parliamentary representatives and to raise awareness for GMB members of their rights. I mean, how many of you out there have got children or grandchildren and they won't mow the lawn or do the pots unless they have a tenner in the hand? Yeah, we're laughing because we know, don't we? We know. So why should an employer that needs this mandatory training, and it's called mandatory for a reason, expect it to be completed for free? Now, there's laws against modern-day slavery, and isn't being forced to work for nothing exactly that? Yes, it is, yes. It's exploitation of the workers and needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Oh, and by the way, before I finish, the kids are right, aren't they? They're not daft. A tenner to wash a few pots. I wish my pay rate was as good as that. I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Seconder.
President, Congress, my name is Nicola Howe from the Midlands region. Standing here to second motion 184 that we just heard about employees having to undertake mandatory training in their own time. I work in an authority that employs drivers and escorts to transport SEN children to and from school. These staff have it written into their contract that all training is to be carried out during the school holidays. However, they are on term time only contracts. Some of them have their pay annualised, spread across the year, and others are paid only during the term. It all equates to minimum wage. The escorts are often mothers with school-aged children themselves, juggling so that they can be at home together during the whole school holidays. Making them come into work for training during the break means that they have to source and pay for additional childcare. Many of the escorts are non-drivers and have arrangements with the driver to collect them on their way to work. So when they are called in for training outside of work hours, they will have to pay for additional public transport costs. I therefore ask Congress to support this motion to campaign against the 6th of April 2020 rule in the employment law and remove the unjust burden on employees to attain training outside of work hours. I second.
Thank you, Nicola. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the motion? No, thank you. The CEC are supporting this motion. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? That's carried.
Thank you, Malcolm. Do we just have a motion? We'll make for brilliant. Colleagues, we have an incredibly special guest speaker for you today. Anira Thomas has made the long journey from Swansea to address you all. Anira was the first baby born under the NHS. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Congress, we all have a connection to the NHS, but perhaps no one more than Anira, having dedicated her life in service as a mental health nurse alongside her 4 sisters who also became nurses. Anira continues to be an active supporter of our NHS, speaking out on a range of issues and at public rallies. We are so pleased she has joined us. and that she's been able to hear you all speak so passionately about how important our NHS is to preserve and rebuild. Thank you, Anira.
Right. Fasten your seatbelts, you're in for a bumpy ride. Another day in paradise with you, Congress. It's a privilege. The last time I was in sunny Brighton, I was staying at the same hotel as the actors, Towie, The Only Way is Essex. And we got involved. I was being filmed on the beach, and they were being filmed on the beach, and somehow got involved in their filming, and somebody shouted, they were all in their robes, and somebody said, get your kit off. I said, sorry, too many miles on the clock. I really am privileged to be asked to address you today. I really, truly am. You who make the difference to our public sector service workers, there when it matters. We are at the mercy of the UK governments of the day, and when you're in power, you give it to the people by listening and acting upon it. I am carefully optimistic now as we have a Labour government in England and in Wales, as I have always thought of Wales as being the poor relation. Make, do and mend. We do the best with what we are given. It's all about equality, morality, fairness, support and protection as circumstances change in seconds, bringing on challenges unseen. And having somebody walking beside you in unexpected times is vital and reassuring, lightening the load for us. Respond and reacting when in need. Happy employees are more productive. Our amazing NHS caregivers, frontline, first on scene, the teachers, retail staff that fed the public through COVID, and so many behind-the-scene workers that ensure the smooth running of our vital services. A team effort that really does get noticed by your empowerment, diligence and constant hard work. I salute you all. And to relay the amazing man and activist, the late Harry Leslie Smith's words, we aren't all born in Downton Abbey. I never, ever want to see rallies like we did with the last government. London and all over the country, marching the streets for a fair pay. It really made me cry. And on the other hand, great admiration for their fighting spirit, fighting back, such solidarity, one big family. What the great Nye Bevan's plan alluded to at the inception of our jewel in the crown National Health Service, that all health workers' salaries would rise in line with inflation, as they had been exploited far too long. I really am privileged to be named by the doctor that delivered me after the founder, Nye. And just as proud to be a miner's daughter. Early one morning in May 1926, a band of brothers were preparing a long march from Crosshands in Carmarthenshire, a little village not too far from the Black Mountains. Destination, London, where the streets were paved with gold. The general strike had hit the country, contributing to severe poverty for a generation of workers and their families. Not a penny off the pay, not a minute on the day. Lean and hungry times for so many. Where my father, Willie, worked was known as the Great Mountain Colliery, also known as Young Man's Grave, for obvious reasons. But the camaraderie was one of mutual respect for one another, a sense of solidarity. But best foot forward, London was a place to find employment. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Unknown to Willie, little Edna May was leaving another corner of South Wales, Cummer in Glamorganshire, and London was her destination too. The eldest of 7 children, her parents were suffering shocking poverty and misery. They sent their oldest child to find work wherever she could. And they both found employment at Park Private Hospital in Basingstoke, and then went back to London. 2 worlds collided, they fell in love, grabbed 2 strangers, witnesses off the high street, and had a special licence, got married, and the 2 strangers, Mum and Dad, went back to their poky little flat and had a wedding breakfast of bacon, egg and black pudding. They set up home in North London, Willesden Green. And when war broke out, I think they stayed there for about 15 years. They came back to Wales, and Dad went back to the colliery where he had left in 1926. That was then, and this is now. 7 children later, we were brought up on a small holding in a little village called Cavanithin. There was a toilet at the bottom of the garden, and my older sister's job was to cut newspapers to hang on the hook in the toilet. My father used to say to them, "If you come across Hitler's face, leave that one for me." We were 5 girls and 2 boys. I followed my older sisters into nursing, mental health nursing. My aunts were matrons, and when they said jump, you'd say how high. And there wasn't many opportunities for me, as my parents couldn't afford university fees back then. But in hindsight, I did pass unconditionally to a very good grammar school in Carmarthenshire. I didn't even know what unconditionally meant. My favourite subjects were art, I was creative, and technical drawing, and boys. My art teacher wrote on my school report the words, "Anira is a dreamer." And I'm so glad I have been a dreamer. It put me in good stead for the life I was to lead all of my years. I had a very different and chaotic life, different to my siblings. When the going got tough, it was tough. When one of my sisters, Maris, introduces me, she always says, "This is Nai, her life is complicated." And when we go away together, we've been away a lot together, we come back, and she always says, "I don't want to see you for 3 months at least." When I look in the magic mirror, I see that young girl looking back at me, the young girl that was stopping the traffic on her way to work, wearing high-heeled platform shoes and leather or suede hot pants. In between my nursing training, I worked at a petrol pump station. I was a petrol pump attendant for extra money. The boss said the takings were the highest they'd ever had. Because the customers used to ask me to check their tyres and look under the bonnet to check the oil. And I was just a girl who couldn't say no. My mother, Edna May, always used to say, "Look how rich I am." Living to the age of 96, I've seen my 7 children grow up, my 21 grandchildren, and 65 great and great-grandchildren. That's the meaning of rich. In comparison to our own mother, died at the age of 40, leaving 7 children, and died without pain relief because of lack of affordability. I never knew grandparents. They had died between the ages of 30 and 50 because it was only the privileged few could afford healthcare. So I always say Mum left a legacy. And her sayings to her girls were, "Be good, sweet girl, and let your will be clever. And always read newspapers, as you must know what's going on in the world." And the last one she used to say to the girls, "Keep your hand on your halfpenny." And I was the one who didn't. I was the naughty one. And she'd often say to me, "Darling, I don't know where you came from, but we do love you." My perception of riches is the same as my mother's. The last few years, there were rock bottom times, and I had to dig deep to try and find answers. When both my son and daughter suffered subarachnoid brain hemorrhages, spending long periods in the trauma wards at the University Hospital of Wales in Cardiff. My girl Lindsay was in a coma for quite a while. The care, compassion they received in both ITU and high dependency units was second to none. From the very top, skilled neurosurgeons, nursing staff, the skill of the caregivers, and the fantastic tea ladies, cleaning staff that cared for us as a family too. We owe them a large debt. And on one Saturday night, a visitor ran over to me excited. I was parking my car because you get friendly with the visitors because they are also going through trauma. And this lady shouted, "Have you seen Lindsay today? Lindsay's awake, Lindsay's awake." And my stomach done somersaults, but I was scared. I went up to her room and she was looking back at me. Long way to go, but I seen those beautiful green eyes again. And when she could eventually speak, a doctor would do the routine checks and ask her the same questions day by day for quite a while. Do you know where you are? Next one, do you know your name? Do you know what day it is? And she said, yes, it's my birthday, I'm 40. And the last one of all, the same one, do you know who the Prime Minister is? And bearing, this was 10 years ago, her reply was, I'm going to swear now. Yes, I do. It's the arsehole who froze my pay 5 years ago. Lindsay got 3 children, and our middle son, Joe, he was a barman in the local boating club, and the whole of the villagers, they were fantastic when my children were ill. And they used to ask him on his shifts behind the bar, when she was, as Lindsay says, I was only sleeping, Mummy. As Mummy woke up, is everything, Mummy, better? And same answer he'd give. No, Mummy's still being seduced. Instead of sedated. How lovely, at 17, he didn't know what it meant. That's seduced. But our own colleagues, paramedics, were truly amazing during this time as well. They never left her side or ours as a family. They carried us. And not forgetting the big boss upstairs. He's always testing us. I have never passed the test, but... And this morning, this afternoon, while I'm here, my Lindsay is probably sleeping after her 3rd night shift. She's back in work as a paramedic a year down the line. She has near 25-year service, long service. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things 24/7. They catch us when we fall. And I would also like to see music in some hospital settings. That's important. Without a doubt, we do stand on the shoulders of giants and must learn from history and our forefathers. Maybe sometimes look back to basics. Our love for our phenomenal National Health Service knows no bounds. Love will move mountains. Love will conquer all. And love will find a way, and so will we. Now Bevan left us a legacy for future generations, and we will continue to protect, maintain, and cherish it by respecting why it was set up in the first place in 1948. And a quote by D.H. Lawrence, the author of Lady Chatterley's Lover, "Do not allow to slip away from you the people that came before you, won with such hard knocks. It's not a bottomless pit. It's complex beyond my comprehension. It does need restructure, certain reforms to deliver the best by the best. And my opinion is that the 4 nations of our wonderful Great Britain should share data and listen further to the real experts, you and the frontliners. They know what's going on. They need to be around the table. And they're collectively bringing vital information and ideas to the table. They know their craft. Forward thinking for an efficient and sustainable health service and face-to-face is important. If the wealthy can afford to pay for care, well, private companies can play a part. It's great in theory, as long as it doesn't affect our public national health service. Planning, preparation, listening, and change is good. There's always room for improvement in every field of work and skills. Also improving lives, it was revolutionary. But not forgetting that laughter is the best medicine. This is Nai, my national health baby. These words will always be with me. As a child, that's how Mum used to introduce me. Never understanding the significance in my child's mind and not knowing what a turning point in history it was. We led the way. And it has played such a central part in my life. I am honoured to have been involved with so many inspiring people over the years that are as committed and compassionate as I am about having a wonderful, comprehensive health service, a network of dedicated people that strive for excellence in patient care. Treatments. I often been asked if I could use one word to describe what it means to me having a national health service. And the word I think of is safe. I would like to shine a light on the NHS charities together. They provide practical and emotional support to the incredible caregivers and communities who also have physical and mental health problems at varying times in their lives. The cost of living now has such an impact of so many working families across the board. And a shout out to the amazing volunteers giving up their precious time for a number of vital services too. Thank you. I am honoured to have met and been invited to many events owing to the celebrations and anniversary milestones over the years of the National Health. My last one was attending and giving out awards to the unsung heroes of the NHS in Manchester. These people are key contributors towards achievements in common objectives in the workplace. As you do too, safeguarding. Safeguarding when matters arise, where they need backup and a voice. The Imperial War Museum requested my birth certificate a couple of years ago to displayed for posterity. I am so humbled to share a little place in history with a brave band of men and women, defenders of the British Isles during conflict in wars. And a Turner Prize winner, Jeremy Deller, was commissioned to paint a portrait of me for the 70th anniversary. And the sales, they were for sale and raised quite a lot of money, and the money went towards the children's wards at the Great Ormond Street Hospital. And I also launched a train for GWR, celebrating another milestone of the NHS. I was also one of the judges for the Great British Menu, which amused all my family because nobody will eat in my house. So I really and truly can't cook. My daughter reckons she was brought up on Kit Kats and toast. And the banquet was at St Bart's Teaching Hospital in London. And I was asked to read a poem written by Michael Rosen. The name of the poem was These Are the Hands, which was very poignant, especially after his long illness contracting COVID, his life being saved. Many, many more events of great importance, Pride of Britain, and having my book published in 2020 was an achievement. I had to name it Hold On Edna, as she wanted to push me out at 1 minute before midnight, as the birth of the national health was imminent. And she was waiting for the doctor to tell her to push, and she couldn't understand why. But he kept looking at the clock and looking back at Mum. Hold on, Edna, hold on. And I arrived at 1 minute past midnight. But my brother reckoned I was pushed back in for 1 minute. And our late Rodri Morgan, our First Minister at the time, said in a speech that he thinks the naughty nurses turned on the clock 1 minute to make sure it was a Welsh baby born. Yeah. I asked my mother so many questions because I never had grandparents, but one question I never asked her, what would she have named me? I'd like to have been Gabriella. Anyway, my book has been very popular due to the digital world we are living in now. There were a lot of worried men in the village when it came out. I did find a place in mid-Wales and the mountains if I had to move as well. I am known as the poster girl of the NHS back home. I've had lots of offers of marriage, because you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. The last offer I had, he introduced himself as Wing Commander Weetabix Smythe. And I'd done a bit of delving and I found out he'd been a traffic warden for the last 30 years. Never flew a plane. And I'm so proud to have had so many letters of people naming their baby girls Anira, named after me. What an honour. And stars of stage and screen that shouted from the rooftops as well. And I've also met members of Nye Bevan's family in the birthplace of Tredegar and Cardiff. That means a lot to me. I have been busy writing another book with my fellow NHS history author friend Emma Snow. Her great-grandfather, John Tomley, was instrumental in trying to set up an NHS, decades before Nye Bevan in 1948. Emma has also written a book called The First NHS. And Assembly member Julie Morgan has said that our book should be on the school curriculum in every Welsh and English secondary schools. GWR have funded us both to write the first ever children's book about Nye Bevan and the NHS history and send them for free to some primary schools. The story also mentions the relevance of unions and what a way for young people to learn about trade unions at an early age. Perhaps GMB might help us get our books across to schools in the UK in any way possible. Just saying, Gavin. The beautiful children are our future. Our exceptional teachers encourage and engage their pupils to be confident by guiding and shaping their lives to achieve the best they can be. Truly inspirational. Education, education, education. Most workers spend as much time in the workplace as much as they do with their families, and no one should feel burnt out, underpaid, unhappy, or aggrieved in the workplace. Your role has a significant, substantial, and an impactful effect on your members and your work-related and various matters. I'm in the midst of a powerhouse. I do realise that. And the pleasure is all mine. But solidarity with Gaza and Ukraine, and it's uppermost in our minds. And to relay the words of the late Pope Francis, look after Mother Earth, One more thing I'd like to read out. This is wonderful. Congress, I am pleased to hear that you have voted yesterday to make the 15th of November an Iron Bevan Day, to celebrate the founder of our NHS, my namesake. That's wonderful. Thank you for having me. The pleasure is all mine. There's always a welcome in the hillside for you, in the land of my fathers. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anira, again for that entertaining speech. Yeah. No one else is allowed to swear in their speech. She's had but she gave us a very small glimpse into her life. If you want to know more, as she said, she's written a book called Hold On Edna. It will be available tomorrow on Bookmarks. But if you go today to that stall, you can reserve a copy, and Anira will be signing a few. So make your way there today. That ends this morning's session. I'm sorry it's run over a bit, but back at 2 o'clock, and enjoy the fringes, please. Thank you.